Chapter 21, Fluctuating Feelings. This. Mom tripped. Jack answered nervously, as he ran to help pick up the woman from the ground. Is that all that happened? The director asked, squinting, looking at the other mother's bleeding nose. Yes, that's all. The woman replied, narrowing her eyes at Emma. What bitches. One blow was enough to stop him from speaking further. If I think about it, I'm taking this matter very lightly. A mother beats her husband and son. In my previous world, it would be a father beating his wife and daughter. I personally would be angry and would punch the guy. But in this world, it simply makes me feel sorry for it, not angry. It must be the same with Rap 3. If a man is raped, I don't think it will make me angry. But in this world, it would be the same if a woman were raped. What a complicated mess. I guess I'm a hypocrite. Every time I heard a story about a boy having sex with his teacher or something like that, I envied her. Wouldn't that be a pretty aberrant piece of shit in this world? Was that all, Miss Emma? The director asked Emma, looking at her with absolute severity. They've already told him that was it. Emma replied irritably, while looking at Jack with a complicated expression. Well, he nodded after a few seconds. I have yesterday's recordings here. Let me tell you, I've already seen them and I can confirm what Christian said, but I'll still let you see them. Professor Mason, could you do me a favor and play the tape? Nodding his head, the professor took the VHS tape and then walked over to a television in the corner of the office, making me aware of his existence for the first time. VHs. Seeing that crap is like a dinosaur fossil to my generation. We have a lot to talk about, young man. Mom whispers in my ear, sending a shiver down my spine as I do my best to avoid her gaze. After a few seconds, the image appeared on the television, where you can see 9 different perspectives, all in different parts of the school. Okay, this is the tape from all the cameras yesterday, Mrs. Smith said, as she took a small remote control from a drawer in her desk. I understand this happened in the afternoon, so I'll fast forward through the irrelevant stuff. The image began to advance rapidly for a few minutes until I could see myself moving forward in it. Stop, there it is. I said quickly, as she looked at me curiously. Cooter. The director paused quickly to slow down the video, where in the top camera you can see me calmly walking towards the bathroom. Look, Mom, it's me. Do I look okay? Pulling at the hem of Mom's clothes, I asked playfully, causing a small smile to appear on her face. Oh, there they are. A few seconds later, the little twerps appeared, running quickly towards the bathroom, with smiles on their faces. Although with this crappy camera, it's hard to tell if it's a smile or an angry expression. Fast forward 2 minutes and 49 seconds, in that time you'll see them come out. She speaks with excitement, clearly enjoying watching this. I can't wait to see the look on their parents' faces. Fast forwarding the video, the image perfectly captured them leaving the bathroom, while they laughed openly at everything. They just walked away laughing, that doesn't mean they attacked him. I quickly exclaimed to the woman who threatened to sue me. Woman, how old are you? Could you please be quiet for a while and be patient? Sigh for the goddesses Sake, these adults. The woman stared at me with her mouth open, even the director looked at me with raised eyebrows. Please fast forward the video 7 minutes and 30 seconds. With a helpless smile, the director quickly fast forwarded the video, arriving rapidly at the moment when they saw me come out of the bathroom. Oh, perfect. The image was perfectly focused on my disheveled face. You could see black liquid on my nose, slowly running down to the ground, while a large black bruise was on my cheek. For those of you who don't know, that was blood on my nose. Just commenting, since there are less skilled people in this office, I explained quickly, while glancing impatiently at the woman. When I finished speaking, I felt my mother's hand against mine, causing me confusion. Looking up slightly, I understood immediately. My mother had a rather complex expression. I could see sadness and anger on her face, causing a small smile to spread across my own. Don't worry, your son is the strongest. I whispered beside her, as I moved a little closer to her, resting my head on her waist. But if you were beaten up, why are you smiling? Emma asked while pointing to the big smile she was wearing at that moment. So what am I supposed to do, cry? I replied sarcastically, then looked at the principal and said impatiently, that's all, principal, thank you very much. I can't do that. The director slowly denied it. I said I would show everything that happened yesterday, but the most important part is still missing. Oh shit. The video continued playing normally. I could be seen walking calmly down the hallways, my head scanning my surroundings. I kept walking for a few minutes until I stopped, at which point I quickly opened the closet door and took out the brooms. With them in hand, different cameras focused on me as I walked, until what had to happen, happened. My God. The teacher muttered, staring in disbelief as I climbed on top of Jack and punched him repeatedly, even my tearful face being caught on camera, making the whole scene look even more shocking. Damn, look at that kid's punch. Emma exclaimed in amazement. They're beating your son. No's mother screamed, looking at Emma as if she were trash. I know, but those punches are incredible. Okay, that's enough. The director exclaimed uncomfortably, quickly stopping the scene on the screen. Silence reigned in the office, as from one second to the next, I found all eyes on me, even Mom was no exception, meeting me directly with her accusing eyes, as her eyebrows already reached the sky. Okay, I admit it. Maybe I was a little out of line, but I was furious. A person can't control their emotions forever. A year of holding it in was my limit, I replied quickly, trying to deflect all those stares, but apparently, it didn't work, as everyone looked at me even more strangely. With no other option in sight, I opted for the best thing I could think of at that moment, turning to Mom, putting on a pitiful expression, and whispering, Mom, I'm being bullied. Unfortunately, my mother didn't help me, she just looked at me like everyone else, making my discomfort rise to another level. Stop staring at me, I yelled angrily, turning to each person in the room. Don't you know that staring at a child so intensely is illegal? What's wrong with these adults, they're so annoying. With great annoyance, I separate from Mom and walk to the seat, remaining seated with my arms crossed, while I do my best to forget the stares I still feel on me. So that would be it with the videos. The principal broke the silence, gesturing for the teacher to come closer. Professor Mason, Christian stated that he told you about the constant bullying he suffered from these students. Is that true? Yes, he came to me a while ago. I spoke personally with Jake, Noah, and Brad. They promised to apologize and stop this behavior, but from what I can see, they broke their promise. The teacher replied, looking at the three boys with obvious reproach, then turning to me with a frown. But I also asked Christian if everything was okay, and he confirmed that it was. Peef. And what do you want me to do? Tell him that everything was worse than before. What's the point? It only makes things worse, and experience has shown me that. I'm not stupid, I can make the mistake once, but if I repeat it twice, I deserve a chance. Rolling my eyes, I reply sarcastically. Cristiano. I whisper to my mother, my voice stern, making my body jump at her sudden approach. Okay, I've finished speaking. So we can confirm that everything Christian said is true. She slowly nodded to the principal, then turned her gaze back to the threatening woman and asked, do you have any doubts? Turning her gaze towards her son Brad, as a stern expression appeared on her face, causing the poor boy to visibly tremble, no. Everything was clear. Does anyone have anything else to add? Nobody spoke, everyone frowned, looking at their children. I guess they know the mess they've gotten themselves into. So, according to the law of our country, I should be reporting this case to the authorities. But I want to know Ms. Gray's opinion before taking action, as the whole situation depends on her. Well. Turning my head towards Mom, I see her with a rather conflicted expression, as she watched the three demons and their parents with a frown on her face. Director, I don't think it's necessary to notify the authorities. What other action can you take? I could suspend them for a while and refer them to psychologists to help them reform their attitude. Also, they would be forced to apologize to Christian, obviously. That would be fine with that, Mom nodded, making my eyes widen. No, I shouted angrily. Seriously, a fucking apology. Do you have a problem with that? The principal asked, frowning. Obviously, I exclaimed in frustration. What the hell good are apologies to me? They made my school life impossible. For a whole fucking year. Do you think some forced apologies can fix that? If I took this chair and hit him over the head with it, then forcibly apologized so the police wouldn't arrest me, would he accept my damn apology? You wouldn't, would you? Christian, enough. Don't disrespect your principal. Mom yelled angrily, which made me quickly turn to her, as my eyes were already beginning to redden with anger and frustration. I'm not being disrespectful, I'm just stating the facts. I replied angrily, then pointed my finger at the woman who had threatened us. That woman threatened to sue me for something I didn't do. I was the victim in this situation, not her damn son. And now that I've been proven innocent, she just sits there silently as if everything she said before never happened. Cristiano. What would have happened if I hadn't had proof? I would have been prosecuted for intimidation. My damn record would have been ruined for life. Do you know what that means, Mom? I would have to face prejudice for the rest of my life. You're the adults. You're the ones who should know the consequences of this crap. So why are you acting like idiots when the truth comes out? I understand their children. I understand their actions are impulsive. I even understand they act this way because of their stupid parents. But I can't understand how they can understand the slight they're committing against me. Turning to my mother, I vent my frustration, but what bothers me most is your attitude. You're my mother. I told you everything about myself. You know I'll never be able to forget that awful experience. You know I'll never be able to get rid of the anger I felt in those moments. I'll never be able to get rid of how horrible I felt when I had to come to school. I'll never be able to forget how powerless I felt when they bullied me. And yet, you want everything to be resolved with some damn apologies. At this point, tears were already starting to fall down my face. Once again, these damned emotions began to overflow, my mind descended into chaos, days and days of memories flashed through my mind in a matter of seconds. Days and days of bitterness, sadness, anger, and pain seeped into my feelings. Turning my gaze towards everyone, I only see confused or pitiful looks from these people, causing my anger to rise to another level for reasons that even I do not understand. You know what? Do whatever the hell you want, I'm just a stupid kid who doesn't understand the truth of the world. As I stood up from my seat, I grabbed my backpack that was beside me and walked towards the office exit. If you'll excuse me, I have some classes to attend. Chapter 22, Dissolute. Cristiano. Mom screamed in concern, making my body freeze for a moment. Turning towards her, I saw that damned expression on her face again, an expression that twists my heart, making my thought process clear a little. Mom, please, not again, just leave me alone for a moment. I need to clear my head. Not wanting to look at Mom's face anymore, I turn around and run quickly, following my desire to get away from everything. After running aimlessly for a while, I regained some clarity. I instantly realized I was near the bathroom. Without thinking twice, I ran towards it and went in, quickly locking myself in one of the stalls. Sigh. Again. I caused Mom pain again. I lost control again. I haven't even had my mind awake for 24 hours and I've already caused him so many problems. Why does everything have to be so difficult? I muttered with extreme frustration as I gripped my head tightly. You're horrible, ha 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 Tilda. You should kill yourself. I bet your father doesn't even love you. Why do you have white hair? It's so disgusting. Hundreds of insults and disgusting moments flooded my head, making my body tremble at the horrible feeling in my heart. Enough. I screamed furiously, while hitting my head hard with my fists, trying somehow to shut down this damn brain. Why aren't you saying anything? Are you stupid? How disgusting. I touched him with my skin, now I'll have his disease stuck to me. You look like dog shit. More and more memories began to flood my mind, causing my anger to rise to another level. They can be childish insults, without arguments, without logic, without anything in particular. But somehow they're so hurtful and annoying. What the hell do I do? I screamed helplessly, as tears fell uncontrollably, but in a moment of brilliance, I managed to understand the solution. I need to think of something else. What am I thinking about? Mother. My little prince is a genius. My little prince is so considerate. What can this poor woman do to make her prince forgive her? Mother. With new memories in my mind, a smile blossomed on my face as all the negative feelings quickly faded away. Cristiano. No. I failed you. No, please. I feel so useless. It just is. Forgive me, son. Mother. Bitter tears welled up in my eyes, as memories of my sad mother repeated themselves endlessly. Her tears. His gaze. His defeated expression. His distressed face. I'm so stupid. I need to see Mom. With that sudden thought, I grab my things and run quickly to the office. Meanwhile, in the principal's office, silence reigned, as everyone stared at the principal who was rubbing her forehead wearily. So, Mrs. Gray, what do we do? The director asked after a while, looking seriously at the woman in front of her. I don't know, Eva murmured wearily, staring blankly at the wall. If you can't give me an answer, I'll be forced to operate outside the law. Is that necessary? Brad's mother asked, in a pleading voice. You have the nerve to ask that. Eva responded fiercely, while anger shone clearly on her face. Mother. But just as the situation was getting dark, the door quickly opened, and a small white-haired boy walked in. See Christian, Eva whispered, her voice a mixture of confusion and relief in her voice. Just minutes ago, her son had run off to who knows where, while anguish gnawed at her insides. See, can you step outside for a moment? Eva frowned in confusion, looking at her son with concern, but still, she got up and left the office, remaining alone with Christian in the hallway. Hesitant and worried, Eva asked, Are you okay? See, could you crouch down a little, please? With even more confusion, Eva crouched down to Christian's level, as the worry inside her heart rose to another level. But in a split second, Christian jumped towards her chest, while hugging her body tightly, making Eva go blank for a moment. I love you, Mom. Christian whispered, his small body trembling as he said those words. I'm sorry for making things so difficult for you. I'm sorry for causing you so much sadness. I'm sorry for everything. My prince, Eva whispered pitifully, quickly wrapping her arms around Christian's back, holding him tightly against her chest. You don't have to apologize. Mom was stupid. I didn't think of you when I answered the principal. No, I acted like an idiot. They're just kids who don't understand their actions. If we report them, I won't gain anything. I won't feel any better, and these memories certainly won't disappear. You're a Christian boy too, Eva whispered, as she cupped Christian's head in her hands, looking at him with absolute seriousness. You don't have to worry about so many things. Not about money, not about the police, and certainly not about lawsuits. Just leave all that to Mommy. I won't let anyone dare to bother my prince. Looking at Eva's face with tears in her eyes, Christian nodded after a few seconds, as a small smile began to form on his face. I love you, Mom, Christian whispered, as he rubbed his face against Eva's cheek. I love you, my prince, Eva smiled softly, gently kissing Christian's forehead. They hugged for a few more minutes, as the young man's troubled mind quickly faded, leaving only serenity and happiness in its place. Now, what do you want to do with them? Eva asked, as she walked away from Christian and stood up, then took Christian back into her arms. Let's follow what the director says. It's the best way to do it. Correct. Nodding her head, Eva entered the office, while Christian hugged her neck, silently resting his head on her shoulder. Director, you can do what I told the children. My prince granted them his pardon. Eva smiled gently, as she turned slightly, showing her the smiling face of the child in her arms. Damn it, Emma exclaimed in astonishment. The boy who was screaming hysterically a few minutes ago is now smiling stupidly. Sigh, I don't understand men, or even children. Eva's face instantly lost its smile as she looked coldly at the woman. How did you say my son smiles? Do you want to fight the bitch? Emma shouted aggressively, completely forgetting about the previous outcome, even forgetting about the principal standing next to her. Dad. Srah, Emma. There was a loud bang in the office, causing everyone to turn their gaze towards the director, who was flushed with anger. Can you behave like an adult? Is this the kind of attitude you want to teach children or your child? Shish. Clicking her tongue in annoyance, Emma stood behind Jack and remained silent. That woman is funny, Christian chuckled slightly, noticing her for the first time. She had shoulder-length dark hair and dark brown eyes, and she was relatively tall, standing around 5 feet 7 inches. Her features weren't beautiful, but they weren't ugly either. Christian would give her a 6/10, and she looked to be around 30. Unfortunately, she was lacking in the body department, thin and with a below-average backside. Now that I think about it, aren't women a bit too big? Since coming into this world, Christian hasn't had much time to adjust, but now he's noticed that all the women he's met in his life are relatively tall, none shorter than 5 feet 6 inches, while the few adult men he's seen were shorter than average in his old world. Sai, do you agree with what I proposed earlier? The director asked, looking at Christian, her eyebrows arched at his current behavior. Yeah. Christian nodded gently, silently clinging to Eva, happily resting his head on her shoulder. It's good to know how to forgive. The director smiled slightly, taking some papers beside her, then began writing on each one for about 5 minutes. Okay, I need everyone to sign this agreement, which explains the situation and the measures that will be taken. I must inform you that if you sign the paper, there's no going back on the matter. The director spoke seriously, looking especially at Eva. All the mothers approached the sheets, instantly reading their contents, at least most of them did. Emma simply signed and walked away, without glancing at the paper again. After a few minutes, everyone had signed, including Eva. Let's see. The director whispered to herself, gathering all the papers, looking at each one, making sure they all had their respective signatures. Now that everyone has signed, we can begin taking the measurements. Jack, Noah, and Brad will be suspended for 7 days for behavioral issues. When they return to school, they will have to attend sessions with the school psychologist. They will remain in treatment until the psychologist determines whether they are ready or not. I will be personally overseeing their cases, the principal explained, quickly filling out 3 more forms she took from her desk. Then she looked up and asked, any questions? So that's all for today. Finishing filling out the papers, the principal handed one to each family. Here's the suspension, you have to bring the children today. Because I feel like something's missing, Christian thought, eyeing the mother's calm expressions with suspicion. It's not my business right now. Since that's all, you can go, see you another day. The headmistress smiled cordially, as she stood up to shake hands with all the parents in the room, except Eva. Mrs. Eva, I would like to speak with you alone, may I? The principal asked, looking seriously at Christian's mother. This, Eva frowned, glancing sideways at Christian, who looked like he might fall asleep at any moment. Christian, the principal whispered, gently shaking the boy's shoulder. I need to speak with your mother and your teacher. Would you like to go to the library until second period starts? Why would I want to go to? Christian answered quickly, only to freeze mid-sentence as a contemplative look appeared on his face. Library. They have computers, I could learn more about this world. I'd love to go. Christian nodded quickly, only to turn around and quickly kiss Eva's cheek. I'm coming, Mom. See you tonight. See you, Eva smiled foolishly, gently lowering Christian to the ground, only to widen her eyes slightly and quickly turn back to the boy who seemed to be running towards the door. I'm coming to pick you up today too, so wait for me at the exit. Okay. Christian nodded quickly, without turning around for a moment, quickly continuing on his way. So, what do you need me for? Eva asked seriously, instantly losing her smile, as she sat down in front of the desk. This is about Christian. I'd never had a close conversation with him before, but I realized he's a conscientious guy. Yes, my little one turned out to be a genius, Eva smiled gently, as her gaze wandered for a moment. A genius, huh? The headmistress whispered with a contemplative look, then turned to the professor. Professor Mason, had you noticed anything about Christian? Not really. He was always the quietest in the class, that's why I don't know much about him, since I have to worry about the more restless ones. After thinking for a moment, the teacher shook his head. He always maintained good grades, never reaching 100, but always between 70 and 80. Now that I think about it, he never went below that average, nor did he ever go above it. It's neither going up nor down. The headmistress whispered softly, her gaze growing increasingly curious. Mrs. Gray, you say your son is a genius. What do you think makes him a genius? Frowning, Eva looked seriously at the director and asked, what are you looking for? Chapter 23, Genius. I won't beat around the bush, but Christian's behavior surprised me quite a bit. I've worked for 15 years in different schools, but this is the first time I've seen a child so perceptive and aware of reality. Clasping her hands together, the headmistress spoke seriously. And according to what Professor Mason said, Christian always maintained the same grades regardless of the subject, something very difficult for a normal child to do. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but I want to know what you know about your son's intelligence. Eva frowned, instantly straightening her posture as her arms crossed over her chest. You don't have to get defensive, I just want what's best for the children, and if Christian is as intelligent as I believe him to be, I think it would be a waste not to help him further develop his abilities. Looking at the director for a few seconds, Eva sighed, her posture visibly relaxing. I recently learned of your talents. What talents? Christian. I honestly don't know. Yesterday Christian had a very radical change in his behavior. You could say that at home he wasn't very different from how he was at school, he didn't talk much, always in his own world. Eva spoke softly as she remembered the boy with a smile. I was always very worried about him. I always did my best to get him to talk to me. I always had to do everything I could to get him to talk to me, usually I was the one who pestered him until he answered me. But it wasn't like that all the time. On rare occasions, Christian would talk a little more, but very rarely. Should I take him to a psychologist to see if he has some kind of autism or something similar? Since his behavior is quite similar to those cases. No, honestly, it's the first time I've even thought about that possibility. I'm a terrible mother, Eva muttered dejectedly, as her body slumped into the chair. I don't think Christian thinks that, the principal smiled. You may not know this, but before I was a teacher or principal, I studied child psychology, and let me tell you, Christian is an open book. At least from what I saw today. All I saw in his eyes was affection for you. It's clear you've done a good job, or at least Christian believes so. Upon hearing his words, Eva smiled fondly, while unconsciously bringing her hand to her cheek, where Christian had kissed her a few minutes ago. But there's something I don't understand. You say Christian is a very introverted child, but I didn't see any of that today. That's what I meant. Christian was very quiet, but yesterday his behavior changed significantly, and you could say that his change began with a fight we had. Can you tell me about that argument? It started because of my stupidity. I got worried when I saw a bruise on Christian's face, and when he told me about the fight, I got angry with him. That led to Christian yelling at me and crying for the first time in his life. First time, crying and screaming. Yes, he had never raised his voice before, much less cried. Even as a baby I never heard him cry. Oh, that's interesting, although I still think his behavior resembles autism. What happened next? He ran away from me. Obviously I chased after him instantly. He ran to a nearby park, then hid in some trees. It wasn't hard to find him, let's just say his hair doesn't help, but when I found him, I felt my heart break. I had never seen him so heartbroken and fragile. But I also felt a great relief, for the first time in his life, my prince was acting like a child. After that, I managed to calm him down a bit and you could say everything turned out alright. No, it turned out perfectly. I was able to hear my little one's feelings for the first time. Eva smiled beautifully, her eyes reddening as she recalled those moments. I suppose it was a good time for you, the principal smiled, opening one of her drawers and taking out a box of tissues, instantly bringing it in front of Eva. You can use these. Thank you, Eva smiled, as a tear trickled down the corner of her eye. So what happened next? We went home, he fell asleep in that park. When we got there and he woke up, that's when he told me everything. You should see him, he looked so happy and cute. I even saw him smile again. They say a child is a mother's weakness, I suppose we can both say that's true. Do you have any children? Yes, I have 4. A set of 9-year-old twins and 2 boys, one 7 years old and the oldest 15. Eva looked at the principal with interest, then approached him and covered her mouth with her hand, while glancing at the teacher out of the corner of her eye. Tell me, what are you doing with your eldest son? What do you mean? Approaching Eva, the director whispered, confused. About girlfriends. Christian is still young, but yesterday I almost had a panic attack thinking about his future. Has he met any girlfriends? Girlfriend. The headmistress stammered, but a second later she realized her mistake and lowered her voice again. My son hasn't had a girlfriend. I think. Do you have something in mind? This. The stunned headmistress murmured. I never thought my son would have a girlfriend. Sigh, I guess no mother thinks about it until they arrive. I was thinking of buying a gun. You know, to intimidate them. Do you think it would work? This. Turning to look at the teacher, even out of the corner of her eye, the headmistress leaned a little closer and whispered, I shouldn't tell you this, but I think so, although it depends on the girl and what your son is like. Just think about this, if you had a very handsome boyfriend, would you leave him alone because his mother pointed a gun at you? No, Eva whispered, a look of horror on her face, only for her expression to fill with hope as she whispered, tell me. Do you think my son will be beautiful in the future? This. I don't think it's appropriate for me to tell you. Come on, old woman. Don't make me doubt myself, only this once will I let you talk about my son. Can't you say it yourself? Of course I can, but you need to know about that bullshit phrase. That a child will always be beautiful to a mother. I don't know if my judgment is impaired. Just help me, I need to prepare for the future. You know, mom stuff. Sigh, I sincerely sympathize with you. I didn't want to ask before so as not to seem rude, but is your husband a model or something like that? Also, is that eye color normal for your son? Honestly, I've met some albinos before and they weren't a big deal, but Christian, I've never seen anything like this. Damn, saying it out loud sounds pretty bad. Swallow, why you mean? I'd buy more than one gun if I were you. You should see an arsenal. The father must be a real looker. Congratulations. An arsenal, Eva murmured distractedly, her hands trembling with fear, completely ignoring the comment about Christian's father. Cough cough. He coughed repeatedly at Professor Mason, causing both women to jump at the sudden noise. Where were we? The director asked nervously. Eva did not answer, still staring into the completely blank void. Eva, the director whispered, moving her arms slightly. Yeah. Where were we? About what happened yesterday. Oh yes, when Christian woke up there was something that made me stupid. He was speaking Russian. Russian. Yes, I speak Russian. What did he say? I can speak Russian, or so he told me. Wow. But that's not all, I could also speak French and Japanese. French and Japanese. Why Japanese? I don't know, I forgot to ask. The truth is that I acted normal. Obviously I knew that my son is a genius. Eva smiled proudly, while sticking her chest out a little more, without feeling ashamed to hide her outburst. That's incredible. Not so much for me, after all, he's my son, it's normal that he's a genius. But that's not all, he also told me that he has a perfect memory, he can remember everything he sees without ever forgetting it. So that's what he meant by not forgetting everything that happened. Yes, honestly, I don't know whether to feel happy or sad. A while ago I would have thought it would be great to have that memory. But based on what Christian said, I can't see it as a good thing. I can imagine. The director sighed pitifully. Have you made any plans for her future? Not yet, but yesterday I asked him what he wanted to do. He ended up saying he would write books. What's happening? I don't know, just books. It has quite a large area to choose from. Yes, but he'll see that in the future. I don't want to be like those mothers who force their children to do things they don't want to do. Something Christian will be grateful for in the future. I just hope I'm not wrong. You're human, it's normal to make mistakes. You just have to know how to deal with them and make sure you don't repeat them. Nice to talk to you, old lady, Eva snorted amusedly. I'm only 47 years old, I'm still in my prime. The fossil exclaimed. It's a joke. Changing the subject, I think I can help you with Christian. Opening another of her drawers, the director took out some papers. Some time ago, the University of Michigan opened a new project, in which they are dedicated to developing child prodigies in different areas. Continued. They gave us the option to send all children who exceeded an IQ of 120, I have no doubt that Christian could easily pass. But Christian never took that test. That's not a problem, we can do it in less than an hour here at school. It's important to keep in mind that during the time the university works with the children, they research them and see how to develop them, and if they end up discovering that they have potential, they offer a full scholarship for any profession the children choose, they even have the option of continuing their studies. Honestly, I think it's a perfect opportunity for Christian to realize his potential, he should consider it. I don't know, Christian is still a child. Who knows what kind of stress he'll have to endure with those bookworms. They are teachers, not mice. It's the same thing. Eva waved her hand lazily, then stood up and extended her right hand. I've already taken up a lot of my time, I have to go to work. I'll talk to Christian about his proposal. If he decides to go, I have no problem with that. It was nice talking to you, I hope for a response. Mrs. Smith smiled slightly, as she shook Eva's hand in greeting. Oh, by any chance, could you give me a copy of that videotape? I need it too. Show it to Christian's father and talk things over with him. Yes, that's why. Nodding to herself, Eva turned to the television, her eyes sparkling with interest. I shouldn't, but. If we think about it, your son was affected by this case. I suppose if you want to take your son to a psychologist, he'll need to see those scenes to get a better understanding of the situation. Obviously that was my idea. If that's the case, I have no problem. It will be ready this afternoon, and I'll send it to you with Christian. That would be perfect, thank you so much for your hospitality, Eva smiled, as she said goodbye to the teacher in the corner, but not before turning back to the headmistress and saying, that woman. Emma, Jack's mother. She slapped the boy in front of everyone. You should look into that. I wouldn't be surprised if she hit his father too. I'll keep that in mind, see you soon. Shrugging her shoulders, Eva left the office, a pleasant smile forming on her lips. My son is a genius. Meanwhile, with Christian. How the hell do I turn this shit on? Christian whispered irritably, turning his gaze back to the computer screen. The old technology was torturing him. There was a large screen in front of him, which made Christian mistake it for a computer with the CPU included in the screen, but unfortunately for him, no matter how many times he pressed the button, the screen simply turned on and stayed blue, with nothing else. Chapter 24, Studying. Boy, what are you doing? A female voice sounded behind Christian. How do you turn this on? Christian asked without turning around, as he continued trying to study the strange connections he saw behind the screen. The screen. The computer. From here. Turning around confused, Christian first encounters the woman who spoke to him. She was an older woman, easily around 50 years old, with white skin, short dark hair, but with many gray strands throughout. She wore large glasses over her brown eyes, while wearing clothes that seemed typical of women who frequently attend church, with a very loose and long skirt, while wearing a thick sweater on top, apparently not caring about the heat that was beginning to plague everyone. Where? Here, the woman replied, pointing under the table, making Christian frown in confusion. Turning his gaze towards where the woman was pointing, Christian finds himself face to face with the most cumbersome CPU he has ever seen in his 2 lives. Why are they hiding it under the table? It's hard to find if they do that. Because there's no room on the desks. Oh, what's your name, ma'am? Eve Hill. My mother's name is Eva Gray. Their names are quite close. Am I happy? You should be, Mom is a great woman. Thank you for telling me how to turn this on. Kid, you're weird. The other children often tell me that. If you don't mind, I'll start using this thing, Christian said as he sat down in front of the computer, keeping his eyes on the woman. Do you have permission to miss class? The director allowed it. Did he give you any paperwork? No. They looked at each other, both sharing the same bored expression. I won't bother sending you back to class, just don't make any noise. He shook his head, the woman shook her head, then turned and walked away. What a strange woman. Where did she come from? I've never seen her before. Christian murmured, looking oddly at the woman who was slowly walking towards his desk, a few meters away from his own. What a strange child, he always ignores everyone, but today he's talking nonsense like it's nothing, Eve muttered, as she sat down at her desk, quickly opening the solitaire card game on the computer. So, what should I search for first? I pondered as I stared at the browser screen. So much information I need to gather. Let's start with my source of money, books and novels. Which one should I write first? And most importantly, will there be any books about my old place in this world? Let's begin. Game of Thrones. I suppose it's a good option, but my first book should be something for children, it would save me some annoying questions. Harry Potter. It was undoubtedly one of the most exploited franchises. In my time the author earned a lot of money, and even after her death the income went to her children and grandchildren. Incredibly, this woman ended up earning over $1 billion, considering that the author only receives a small fraction of her work. Harry Potter. Typing the book's name quickly, he pressed the search button, waiting with anticipation and curiosity for the result to appear. Nothing. The result was disappointing. To begin with, it took a few minutes to appear, which almost made me smash my head against the screen. But the most disappointing thing is that nothing like a book actually appears, just a few pages of garbage with no real results. I feel like I'm failing at something. Harry Potter. Oh. I'm so stupid. We are in an inverted world, the name of the book will not be that of a man. But what name would he use? Let's see. Harriet Potter. Sigh. Another minute of waiting and nothing coming to pass. I guess I'm too superficial, I should try something more open. Books and novels of magical fantasy. Let's see. June, the Fire Wizard. Juliet and the Magic of Everything. The Magic of the Show. The Return of the Demonic Empress. I'll capture them all. Will I catch them all? Oh, it's a light novel. Sounds interesting. Click. Let's see. Your synopsis is, Juliana is reborn in a fantasy world with incredible powers. What does she decide to be? A heroine, a queen. No, she'll be the goddess of the harem. The goddess of the harem. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, let's look at its genres. Magical sexual fantasy. Tentacles. Netori. Clones. Filth. What the hell is filth? Let's see. What is filth? Search. Filth comes from a television series dedicated to comedy, becoming popular among young women. Its meaning is, Dad, I'd like to fuck. Oh. That is to say. Strange. I suppose that's normal in this world. I used to consume a lot of MILF content. If I become a father, would I be a filth? It sounds like a good future. Do women see these kinds of things in this world? Well. I cannot be a hypocrite. It should be more than normal in this world. Just like in my own country, where men created fanfiction to ensnare them all with over 100 genres of perversions. But seriously. Tentacles. Clones. Sigh. Is there such a thing as en hentai? In my world, it was said that the most famous genre was lolicon. Is there shotacon in this world? It would be interesting to read it. I'm a shota now, after all. Am I the fantasy of many women? I guess I'll see it someday. I don't know how advanced technology is this year, but schools usually keep all the records, and I don't want to get comments about my searches for mom. I kept searching for everything I could about the book, even using keywords like, aqua burp, or, accio, but it didn't yield any real results. So Harry Potter doesn't exist. I only managed to find a few magic books. I haven't read them, but they seem to have good reviews, and apparently they sold a lot. So I could start with that project. I'd have to change the genders of all the characters. I might even change the plot a bit when you mention pregnancies or things like that, and I could also polish the story a little more. I still don't understand how the basilisk, with its gigantic size, managed to get into the school's pipes. Furthermore, I don't know if the countries described in the book are the same as those in the book, essentially England. I should find a world map and memorize it. You can never have too much of that kind of information. I could also use it to see what I can find out about history. I realized that I jumped to conclusions very quickly. I practically only know the common things from school, the discovery of America, the American Revolution, etc. The truth is that I know almost nothing about the other continents. Perhaps I have no use for this knowledge right now, but as they say, knowledge is power. With a clear objective in mind, I dedicated myself to searching for all kinds of global information I could find, from the history of a small country to the ancient histories of Asian countries, making sure to search for every last possible thing on the internet. In this way, I completely lost track of time, as my mind seemed to enter a trance-like state, reading and reading endlessly, analyzing, learning, and remembering every fragment I found. Child. But while I was absorbed in knowledge, a hand gripped my shoulder as it shook me with some force, causing a frown to appear on my face. Turning around, somewhat angry and confused, I find Eve, the librarian. Why are you shouting? I'm not deaf. I've been talking to you for 5 minutes, I'm telling you that you should leave. Huh, why? You've been on the computer all morning, I won't ask why you skipped so many classes, but you need to go eat. All morning, lunch, what time is it? It's 1:15 p.m. 13:15, how long have I been here? About 3.5 hours. Holy shit. Watch your language, children shouldn't swear. Thanks for letting me know. I guess I'll go get something to eat. Sigh, just make sure it doesn't happen again, as I'll be the first person to get scolded. Thank you. He murmured in a daze. Okay, I'll get back to what I was doing. Eve smiled slightly, then turned and went to her desk. 3.5 hours. Since when did I endure so much studying? My limit was half an hour. I used to get bored quickly and, since I was always smarter, I could learn everything faster, which meant that half an hour of studying each day was enough for me. But now, I felt wonderful. All that knowledge made me feel so relaxed. It was so pleasant that I got lost in that feeling. I can't complain. I smiled contentedly, then turned off the computer and took a notebook out of my backpack. In this life, I almost never used notebooks in class, only for homework. My memory didn't need it, but what if I lose this super memory someday? What if my memory goes back to normal? I know it's unlikely, but nothing I know is certain. That's why I think it's vital to have the most important things recorded, even if I never end up using them. So, I mustn't write anything that will give me away. You never know if I might lose these records someday. I could certainly get into serious trouble if I write about another world or details of the future. I whispered thoughtfully as I started walking toward the school cafeteria. I suppose I should write all the important books down as soon as possible. It doesn't matter if I can't publish them right now, since that's the hardest thing to remember if my memory goes back to normal. Songs and that kind of thing don't bother me. Even in my other life, I knew everything by heart. I guess I should start with a summary of this world's history. If I ever lose this memory, it'll be the most boring thing to study. Yes, I'll start with that. Nodding to myself, I open the notebook, take out the pencil I carry inside, and begin to write quickly, not bothering to look at myself, knowing the way to the cafeteria like the back of my hand. After hours of study, I was able to confirm what I had thought before. Everything is practically the same, at least as far as major wars, peoples, empires, and countries are concerned. The most important thing is that the world map is the same as the one in my world. I don't know if the cities within it will be exactly the same, but it doesn't really matter. After all, I only knew a little bit of New York and nothing else. The curious thing is that the course of history was very different in some points. In this world, women always fought in wars, while men usually played the role of housewife. The most intriguing thing is that there is a variable in that reality, something that caught my attention. The Spartans. In my world they were known for being perfect warriors and practically killing machines. Obviously, all the warriors who fought in wars were men. I thought that in this world they would be Spartan women, but curiously in this world they were also men. It was said that they followed the commandment of the son of Ares, a man named Leonidas. The known story is quite similar. Separated from children, they trained 10 hours a day. Even the death of Leonidas was the same, riddled with bullets by the Persian army. But it was changed in small but very important details. In the story written by the ancients, it is said that Leonidas was given to the people by Ares, the god of war, allowing his son to lead Sparta to victory. But for some reason, the last sighting of Sparta ended the same year that Leonidas died. Historians claim that Sparta was destroyed by the Persians because of its rebellion, but my logical thinking does not allow me to understand how men who fought for honor were annihilated so easily and without leaving a trace. But oh well, I suppose there's no point in dwelling on the past, although their history certainly makes me admire them. Practically like an unstoppable army of women in my old world, they would undoubtedly be admired for fighting against the dominant sex. Chapter 25, Ghost. Another interesting fact is that Cleopatra is not a man in this world, she is still a woman. That instantly eliminated my thought that the sexes were reversed and that's all. But it considerably increases my doubt about the world. Why are the surnames and important names of countries the same? Why doesn't Christopher Columbus exist, and why was his gender changed to a woman with the same last name but a different first name? Why wasn't Cleopatra a man in this world? Or why do the ancient stories from my world exist in this one? No matter how much I analyze, I can't seem to find any meaning or points of connection. Sigh. I gain nothing from thinking about irrelevant things. If I think about it, why do I analyze these topics? Have I always been this deep? I suppose being a genius comes with different qualities. Putting aside my depth, there is another development that I was unaware of and that honestly amazed me. In this world, there is no Pope, only the Holy Mother. But that's not the shocking part. The most shocking thing is that most of the Holy Mothers had sons or daughters. Even those children have titles, holy daughters. Honestly, I didn't find it very shocking, since, in my old world, anyone who cares a little about the history of the Christian Church would know that in ancient times there were many popes who had sexual relations with a large number of women. For example, Pope John XII, the guy was so lustful that he fornicated with his niece when she was a child, he even fucked her widowed mother. But that's not the worst part, the guy even fucked eunuchs. Almost anything with a hole was his target, which is why he earned the title of the fornicating pope. The strangest thing is that in the church only the Holy Mother can have daughters or have sexual relations, while everyone else cannot, not nuns, not priests, not cardinals, not anyone else, only her. Although they weren't stupid enough to make their daughters the next saint mothers, because I'm sure it would fall apart much faster if that happened. In my old world, it must have been easier to hide the times a man in the church impregnated a woman, but since here women are the pillar of the church, it became much more difficult for them, which forced them to change everything. At least that's my logical theory. I don't know what really happened. Well, those anomalies aside, everything else is relatively normal. I also dedicated myself to learning about fashion. I don't want to be surprised by men wearing skirts and having hairy legs. But what I found surprised me quite a bit. Apparently, in the old days women wore a type of skirt as a battle dress, something very common at that time that was passed down to our days. The same thing happened with girls' hair. In 700 BC, the belief was established that having long hair gave a person strength, causing all women to let their hair grow, while men were forced to cut it as a form of submission, usually after the man got married. Today, women still maintain their hair long as the norm, while over time men gained the right to have long hair, unfortunately not without protests many times in different countries. The most fascinating thing is that both men and women were forced to remove their body hair because, for some reason, the belief arose that hair on the limbs was bad for one's health. It's unknown exactly when this started, but records date back to the 5th century BC. Today, almost everything is considered aesthetically pleasing, but it's rare to see a man with hair on his arms or legs, and the same goes for women. What's most intriguing is the ideal aesthetic for men. In my world, Western aesthetics were about a voluptuous woman, but obviously, in this world a man cannot be voluptuous. After all, he doesn't have breasts. So I assumed that the ideal aesthetic would be a thin, muscle-less man, something I considered feminine. But apparently that's not the case. The ideal aesthetic is that of a more toned man, not to the point of looking like a mountain, but rather the type to have some defined muscles. That would be ideal. Only a small percentage of men reach that point because, like women's physical fitness, men have to work for it. It's also fair to say that women's beauty standards have changed. As I knew before, the ideal isn't having big breasts, but a big butt. I didn't really understand why, but I guess it's like with men, whoever has the biggest penis wins. It's good to know I've been winning for 2 lifetimes. Although I read this information from surveys and studies conducted by certain companies, I don't know, if it's discussed so casually, it must be true to some extent. People who get waxed must earn a lot of money. That would be the most impressive thing for me in the history of this world, then would come movies, music, and books. No matter how much I looked, I found nothing like my other world. I was surprised that there wasn't a Lovecraft book, an incredible and beautiful book. But that only brought me excitement. There must be hundreds of invented creatures that were unknown in my world, since I doubt that this world doesn't have its myths or fantasies. Yesterday I listened to an amazing rock band. I remember great movies I saw on television. I practically have a whole world of entertainment to watch. Although if I think about it more, I will feel uncomfortable when I see the typical soap opera or movie where the man sleeps with many women, or in this world, where women sleep with many men. It might sound sexist or stupid, but now I understand when I was influenced by my old world. Just thinking about this repulsion I have towards the idea of a woman having a harem makes me realize that we are hypocrites. I myself am thinking about sleeping with a lot of girls, something that would be great for me. But what will women say about me? I'm a bitch, a whore, someone easy, etc. Even if I opened my legs for them, they would be the first to jump in. Bitches chasing a dog. What a great analogy. More or less the same thing had to happen to women with sexual freedom in my world. Wait. Did I just say I'd spread my legs? Well. It's not bad either. It must be uncomfortable to have sex with your legs closed, it would crush my balls. Thank you. I smiled slightly at the man who had just handed me food, something that really confused me. When did I arrive at the casino? Did I stand in line and say thank you without realizing it? Did I simply walk, reflect, and write down everything I learned at the same time? Fuck. I'm more than a genius. I'm gifted. I looked up and searched for an empty table, instantly finding one in the corner. Without thinking, I went to it and sat down. So. Now that I have the basic information about the world, what else should I analyze? I've already decided that I'll try to use books to secure money. I'm not 100% sure the books will work. In my old world, many amazing books never became famous. But it will get me some money, so that's enough for now. It's 2009. Wasn't it during this time that Bitcoin was first beginning to emerge? I suppose I should check later. If they exist, I wouldn't be mining some. But if they didn't exist, couldn't I create it myself? I watched many videos about its origins. I know what its basic principles are. I would need some basic computer skills, and that's all. Although the chances of it succeeding are very low. Well, I'll look into that in the future. First, I need money. I don't even have a computer to mine or to create the mining blocks. With the money almost sorted, I should think about my future. What do I want to be when I grow up? Honestly, I want to use the reverse world to my advantage. At least sexually. Maybe I should be a gynecologist and have sex with my patients. That sounds like a good idea. If I turn out to be beautiful in the future, it wouldn't be difficult. It's like going to the urologist and meeting a supermodel as your doctor, and that doctor inviting me to have sex every day I go to see her. I wouldn't hesitate to spend my entire paycheck on going to the doctor. But I read many stories about gynecologists. It makes me sick just thinking about the crap I read or heard. From vaginal diseases to condoms trapped inside for months. Just thinking about the smell of a tampon that's been in for weeks or months makes me want to throw up. I suppose it would be worse in this world since men tend to be more careless. Women shouldn't be too different. Perhaps open a private clinic where I am a urologist. That doesn't sound like a good idea either. What happens if all the older women with money come in? The guy with a few dozen extra kilos. I could be a doctor, so I wouldn't have to see so many bad vaginas. But the idea doesn't appeal to me at the moment. I could be a personal trainer. I would find many fit women inside, with a toned and beautiful physique. It wouldn't be bad. I'd have a few clients I don't like, but it wouldn't be much. It's not like I have sex with everything that moves. Maybe I'm too obsessed with sex. I suppose so. But I've been a virgin for 2 lifetimes, it's not easy to deal with that. Also, I promised Shrek that I would fuck many women. Perhaps I can be a university professor. Great idea. I could go after the high school seniors, but there's a lot of police risk involved. But with college girls, there wouldn't be such a problem. He would just have to find the calmest and most beautiful woman in the room. Just the thought of fucking my student makes my mind go crazy. Can I sit here? Just as my mind was filling with obscenities, a child's voice woke me up, making me turn my head. Next to me was a girl of about 8 years old. She had long blonde hair with beautiful green eyes, chubby and squeezable cheeks, but the funniest thing is that she was smiling, easily showing the lack of 2 teeth in her smile. Baby teeth. I think I lost most of them. If I'm not mistaken, I have 2 left. Mom always left me money. Even if it's just pennies, it was nice for me to think that if there were such a thing as a fairy. Yeah. I nodded to the girl, then looked down at the pizza and continued eating. So, what was she up to? Are you a ghost? Turning my head angrily, I see the girl just inches away from me, looking at me with great curiosity, making my anger vanish as if it were nothing. Why do I get angry with a girl? No, I'm a human. I think. You're sure? Yeah. I saw a movie yesterday where a girl was talking to people who turned out to be ghosts. You could be one too. I saw a movie where a boy talks to people who turn out to be ghosts. You could be one too. But you're all white, ghosts are like that. You're annoying. What does it mean to be annoying? My dad tells me that almost every day, but nobody tells me what it means. Looking at the girl's pout as she said those words, I felt my heart clench a little. And your mom doesn't tell you that? I don't have a mother. Dad says I do, but he went to buy cigarettes, but I don't believe him. The store is a little farther from the house, and the other day I went to see if she was there, but no matter how much I yelled, she wasn't there. So I realized I don't have a mother. Sigh. What is your name? Emily, and you? I have no name, I am a ghost, but my mom calls me Christian. Whoa, I knew it! Exclaimed the excited girl, as her expression became increasingly smiley. It was a joke. I'm not a ghost. Don't worry, I'll keep your secret, promise, Emily shouted quickly, extending her pinky finger towards me, causing a bitter smile to spread across my face. Chapter 26, First Friend. But I'm not a ghost. The ghosts in the movie said so too. Emily exclaimed quickly with excitement while holding her pinky finger extended towards me. I promise, I murmured, stretching my finger towards her, forming a hook between the two fingers. It's the first time in my 2 lives that I've done something like this. Besides, I just wanted to be sarcastic. How did my words end up with a girl thinking she was talking to ghosts? Tilda, I have a ghost friend, Emily whispered excitedly, as she looked around. You're weird, but I like you. I like you too, my ghost friend. Emily smiled happily, beginning to eat her food with delight. Sigh. You'll face many difficulties, girls, I just hope you don't lose that smile. If I think about it. Isn't she my first friend? Emily, what grade are you in? Number 3, Emily smiled proudly, as she raised her little hand with 4 fingers extended. Why are you holding up 4 fingers if you're in 3rd grade? Isn't this number 3? Emily asked curiously, while looking at her fingers in confusion. You have 4 fingers pointing upwards, if you put one down it would become the number 3, didn't you know that? Oh, I can't count, Emily whispered awkwardly. I can't read either. Haven't you learned anything in all the time you've been here? It's so boring. Plus, the teacher yells at me a lot and everyone laughs at me. And your dad doesn't teach you. He doesn't know either. Will you stop being my friend too? Emily asked with teary eyes, while her small body trembled slightly. This girl. It reminds me of my other world self, where I was just a stupid kid. Those shitty teachers just ridiculed me because I couldn't read at the age of 10. But what could I do? I grew up in the most useless orphanage, I couldn't change that. They didn't even send me to school. I won't let you be my friend. Do you want me to teach you to read and write? I'm very intelligent. With obvious excitement, Emily put down her food and exclaimed, really? Yes, it's not very difficult. Do you want me to show you? Emily nodded quickly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Then I can teach you during my free time. But let me see if I can take you out of class, I don't think it will do you much good right now. Thank you, friend. Emily smiled happily, as she turned to continue eating. I'd have to talk to the principal, I have nothing to learn at school. I could also spend my time teaching this girl. Let's meet at the library after your next class. MN. Then I should go talk to the principal and see if I can skip class. I don't want to waste time on something I already know anyway. Can you walk through walls? Sigh. How skeptical can a girl be? No, I guess it's for adult ghosts. Too bad, but don't worry, I'm sure you'll eventually be able to walk through walls. Sigh. Hit. Forward. Here I come. Good afternoon, director. I smiled cheerfully at the older woman at the desk. Pretty nice weather, don't you think? The heat is killing me, but tell me. What do you want? She narrowed her eyes at me, eliciting an awkward smile from me. With the same awkward smile, I approach the desk and sit in the chair in front of her, while putting my backpack to one side. After we finished eating, Emily went to her classes while I came straight here. It took me a while to get her to stop asking stupid questions, but after I assured her I'd be her friend, she let me go. I am here to speak about a matter of utmost importance. Something very vital for the future of a great student at this school. You're a strange boy, the principal shook his head, a smile spreading across his face. But tell me, what's so vital? That's how it is. I continued for 5 minutes telling the principal about the strange girl who can't read, making her eyebrows stretch to their highest point. So she ended up thinking I was a ghost, and we also agreed that I would teach her to read and write. Emily from 3rd grade. It must be Emily Allen, she's the only girl who comes to mind with the traits you described. It's strange that she can't read at that age, but it's not something that never happens. I know, but at this rate she'll never learn. Apparently, she's afraid of her teacher because she's always yelling at her, her classmates laugh at her, her father apparently doesn't like her very much, and her mother abandoned her. If someone doesn't help her, things will end badly for her. Quote dot dot dot. You're very aware of reality, aren't you? I don't need to be very intelligent for that. I'm glad you want to help a fellow student, and I appreciate it, but why are you telling me this? That's what I was going to say, hee tilde. I smiled awkwardly, unconsciously scratching the back of my neck. I want to tutor Emily during school hours because I don't have enough time in my free time, plus mom or my sister always come to pick me up, I can't keep them late. No. Wait, before you refuse to let me finish. To be honest, I have nothing to learn in class. I can prove it by finishing all the exams this year, and even in the years to come and after. For me, sitting there is a waste of time, but don't get me wrong, I don't mean to offend. Now with Emily, it's no use being in class for her, she can't read or write, which is quite embarrassing but not surprising considering how unsuccessful she is as a teacher. What kind of teacher yells at a girl for not knowing how to read? Especially if they know everyone will make fun of her. My only answer is either a terrible teacher or a stupid one. Maybe both, it's not impossible after all. That's why I thought it would be perfect if you allowed me to spend my class time in the library with Emily. I'm happy to teach her to read and write, and she can also take exams at a time to confirm she's doing well, while I can finish all of the year's exams in one day if that's what she wants. That's all. Sorry if I talk too much, but it often happens. Somewhere in my explanation I got lost and started talking too much. Did he think I was a stupid kid for saying I could do high school stuff without any problem? After all, she doesn't know I'm a genius. I even insulted a teacher in front of her. My goddess. Please don't let me tell my mother. Wait. Didn't I swear a lot a while ago? Oh my goddess, please make my mother forget those moments. Sigh, let me recap what you said. Smith said after a while, rubbing his temple wearily. You're telling me you want to skip class because you can't learn anything anymore and you find it would be a waste of time, right? You're also telling me you're going to teach a little girl what her teacher couldn't, right? And that's why you want her to miss class too, so you can teach her during that time, right? Yes, yes, and yes, I nodded repeatedly. Mrs. Smith just looked at me with a stoic expression, leaving my thoughts confused for a moment. Why wouldn't I accept? I would practically still be in school, teaching a student something they couldn't do, helping them with their grades, and maybe even helping me get mine to the maximum. I don't see the problem, I'm doing her damn job, she should be happy. Tell me, Christian, how old are you? With my eyebrows furrowed at the unexpected question, I replied, I'll be 9 years old in a few days. What grade are you in? In 4th grade. How many countries are there in the world? 194 recognized countries, 195 if we add Palestine. What is the square root of 144? 12. And the square root of 12? 3.464101611514, but it can be reduced to 3.464. How many bones does the human body have? Well, that depends. Normally you can count 206 parts, but there are many anatomical variables, and babies have more bones than an adult. What is the result of the number pi? 3.141592655, but it's usually shortened to 3.14, although as far as I know, the number is infinite. But I wouldn't know, I find it hard to believe in something infinite, maybe. Just maybe. At some point, someone is going to get a finite result. Oh shit. Looking at the director's blank expression, I realized I had just made a big mistake. But I couldn't help but reply. I knew all that from my studies in my old life, and I felt that if someone asked me, I had to answer it. It's hard to explain to myself, but it was a tremendous and irresistible impulse, but obviously stupid. Furthermore, I don't know if mathematics is the same in this world. What if they don't yet know the result of pi? I know the countries I mentioned, since I looked them up a few minutes ago, but I didn't look anything up about mathematics. What if it turns out to be something innovative, or something that hasn't yet been discovered in this world? They would take me to strange people to do math every day. No, 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 I'd rather die than do that shit. Christian, you've been hiding all this time. Are you going to let me or not? I asked with slight annoyance, completely ignoring her previous comment. Mrs. Smith did not respond, she just stared at me for a long time, while tapping her fingers on the table. I don't know what you're thinking, but I don't plan on spending the rest of my life doing boring things, so don't even bother. I didn't say anything. But you're thinking about it. Quote dot dot dot. Are you sure you're 8 years old? If you count the time I was in gestation, I'm 9 years old. I see, Smith whispered, his gaze never leaving me for a second, then he nodded and said, fine, I'll allow it, but on one condition. That. You have to attend the workshop. Me him. Let me finish. I refuse, I don't want to attend any workshops or anything like that. They'll just take up my time and I have a lot to write, I'll start with a novel. Quote. Are you really going to write books? Yeah. About what? I'll start with fantasy. Quote. That will do. Huh. Write your book and give me a copy to read. Are you sure? I don't know when it will be ready. It doesn't matter, just let me see what you accomplish in a month. It's to verify that you're not wasting your time. Alright. So, when you return from vacation, I want to see progress until you're allowed to take Emily out of class. Mrs. Smith smiled slightly, as she took a piece of paper from the corner and began to write quickly. Vacation. Oh shit. I knew something was missing. The holidays start in a week or so, which means the suspension of the trio of bitches doesn't matter much, all the exams are almost over. Tisk. How can I let such vital things pass me by? Okay, I'm not losing anything for now, but I need to make sure I don't make the same mistake twice. Take this, the principal said, holding out a small piece of paper. It's your permission slip. If any teacher or the library manager says anything to you, just show them this and they'll let you go. Thank you, I murmured, quickly taking the paper in my hands, fearing that the lady might change her mind. Remember this, if I catch you doing anything other than studying or writing, I will instantly revoke your privileges and you will have to return to class. Furthermore, you will have to raise all your grades to the highest level you can, understood? Don't worry, I smiled cheerfully as I stood up from my seat. Thank you for agreeing. If you don't mind, I'll go find Emily. Don't forget our deal, I want to read your preview after the holidays. I'll try to give you one before I go on vacation. I answered lazily, as I left the office without turning around. Everything is ready. I added an unnecessary burden to myself, but I would have liked to have had someone to lend me a hand during those moments of my childhood. I suppose that, in this life, I can be the one who holds that girl's hand. Chapter 27, Old Friends. So, if 1 plus 1 equals 2, what would 1 plus 2 be? This. 4. No. Put your fingers back down. Over there. Now pick up 1. List. Now pick up 2 more. List. How many fingers are on your hand? 1, 2 and 4 inches. Sigh Emily, I already taught you to count to 10. 2 children sit at a library table, each with a different expression. The girl has a big smile on her face, while the boy looks tired. This. Lift up each finger and count aloud. 1. Well. 2. Well. 4. No. After 2 comes 3. Oh. 3 inches. Continue. 5. Quote. Emily, after 3 comes 4 and then 5. Oh. 4 inches. Continue. 5. Correct. 6. Continue. 7. Perfect, go ahead. 8. Well. 9. Yeah. 10. Ha ha ha, you did well, you're very smart, Christian smiled gently. Really? Emily exclaimed happily, as she looked at her fingers with excitement. Obvious. Ha ha tilde I can count. Emily laughed happily, quickly jumping up from her seat, then skipping joyfully all over the place until she reached the library manager. Ma'am, I learned to count. I'm glad, Eve smiled gently, affectionately stroking Emily's head. Now go back to your seat and keep studying, you still have a long way to go. Yes, Emily nodded happily, then ran back to her seat. Let's continue. Okay, you have to repeat the numbers you learned to me again. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7. Sigh asterisk is this what parents go through when they teach their children? Christian thought with a tired smile, looking at the excited little girl in front of him. Not a bad start, though, considering we've only been going for 50 minutes. Don't forget 3 inches. So. You have to remember too. No. The letter, A, is not a number. There is no country called Moon. Snakes don't dance. Emily, after 27 comes 28. There's no such thing as a numerical potato. Okay, but after 90 comes 91, not 100. Yes, I won't stop being your friend, don't worry. Now keep counting, 95. No Emily, the goddess won't punish me for not going with the other ghosts. Emily, no. Emily. Please, kill me. And so time passed quickly, while Christian's smile faded with each passing minute until only a desperate look remained on his face. Quite unlike Emily, who had always maintained her vivacity from the very beginning. It's been about 3 hours since she started teaching Emily to count, and although it was difficult, she managed to get her to memorize up to the number 100. A great achievement considering that just a few hours ago, she couldn't count past 2. Furthermore, Emily has incredible concentration. In these 3 hours of studying, she never lost focus, not even to go to the bathroom. You did well, Emily, Christian smiled wearily, as he looked at the numbers written in the girl's notebook with relief. The potato is not a number. Emily muttered, stunned, as she put away her notebooks. I told you to forget about that, you can count now, can't you? But my old friend told me that a potato was a number. Maybe that's why the teacher got angry. Quote. She lied to you. Yeah. Does it bother you? Yes, we won't be friends anymore. Tomorrow I'll help you with addition, and when we get back from the weekend, I'll see if you can learn subtraction. It all depends on how quickly you learn. After you know those 2 things, you could learn to read. MN. Emily nodded slightly, but her bad mood was still visible on her face. Emily, try writing the numbers from 1 to 100 at home. You need to practice, okay? Yeah. Sigh. Then that's all for today. In a few minutes, you should be starting your journey home. Stretching to relieve muscle fatigue, I focus my gaze on the clock on the library wall. We should be ready in 5 minutes. Do you want to go out with me? Come on, my friend. Emily laughed quickly, momentarily forgetting her earlier bitterness, then took my hand and pulled me along with her. Sigh. Where is Christian? I told him I would come for him today, that he should be waiting for me outside. Isn't he fighting again? No, my Christian isn't like that. Mother. Turning quickly to my side, I see my little prince in front of me, looking at me with his new smile that I am already falling in love with. My Prince Tilda, I smiled happily, quickly reaching out to take my little one in my arms, only to notice something that made my blood run cold. Hi, Christian's mom, I'm Christian's friend, my name is Emily. A friend? No. My young son has no friends, much less any female friends. They're holding hands. She is his. No. My prince is still little. Eva, stop thinking about stupid things. Hi, Emily. I don't remember seeing you with Christian before. We became friends today. Emily smiled happily, still holding Christian's hand. Then she leaned a little closer to Eva and whispered, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about Christian's secret. What secret? Confused, I approach Christian, finding myself even more bewildered as I look at his tired expression, while he put his hand to his face in embarrassment. What secret? I asked, frowning, as I felt the weather turn unusually cold at this point. Leave it, Mom, Christian interrupted sheepishly, then turned to Emily and said, shouldn't you take the bus? Oh, right. With wide eyes, Emily runs towards the bus a few meters ahead, but not before turning around and shouting while waving her hand, see you tomorrow, mate. See you tomorrow. My Christian friend is already attracting girls. And he's still just a child. An arsenal of weapons. Will I have to resign myself to my fate? But I don't want them to take my son away. Mother. Yes, I answer with some difficulty, refocusing on my young son. Hug, Christian murmurs, as he extends his small arms towards me, instantly sweetening my bitter heart at this beautiful request. My baby. I smiled gently, as I quickly grabbed Christian in my arms, lifting him to my height. Come here, mommy, ha 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 Tilda. Once he was in the air, I quickly pulled him closer to me, successfully connecting with my young son in a hug, happily rubbing my cheeks against his soft skin, as he instantly secured himself to my neck. My prince, how was school? I asked after a while, as I started to leave the school with Christian in my arms. It was interesting. Oh, why, is it because of that girl? I asked him with narrowed eyes. Well, in a way, she had something to do with it. You know she mistook me for a ghost. Upon hearing that, a powerful anger instantly began to flood my head. What? How dare that girl mistake my son for a ghost? You don't have to scream. She didn't mean any harm. She says she saw a movie where a girl talks to ghosts who don't know they're ghosts. I tried to be sarcastic, but she didn't get it. So she made me swear that she wouldn't tell anyone I'm a ghost. It was kind of funny. Oh, I see. I saw that movie too. I also spoke with the principal. I asked for permission to skip classes since they're not very useful to me. I've already learned all the material for this grade. Quote. What are you going to do with your free time? I asked, frowning, not at all happy with this request of hers. I started teaching Emily to read and write. It turns out she still doesn't know anything and everyone laughs at her. Even her teacher often ridicules her. So I said, why not? I have plenty of free time after all. My Christian friend is so kind. But why does it have to be with a girl? What did Mrs. Smith reply? She allowed it under certain conditions. I have to keep up with my exams, continue studying in the library, and send her a preview of my book when I get back from vacation. That old bitch. Do you want to kill my son with so many burdens? Your book. Have you made any plans yet? Yes, I have a general idea, I'll start writing it today. Your book. My son is 9 years old and he's already thinking about writing a book. Cristiano, promise me something. Whatever you want, Mom. If people laugh or make fun of anything you do, just ignore it, okay? Don't worry, Mom, I'm a big boy now. Sigh. Is it really going to be okay? Even though I've been trying to act normal around Christian, my fear about his condition is eating me up inside. Yes, it's great that he's a genius, but will he be able to cope? Their intelligence doesn't sound like the kind you see in movies or that they admire so much. Remember feelings, images, sounds. Won't that be too tiring for a child? What happens if people make fun of him for doing something wrong? Won't she remember that negative feeling for the rest of her life? Would it affect their self-esteem forever? Will it affect him at all? Will he be able to live a peaceful life with those memories that haunt him? I love you, Mom. Out of nowhere, Christian whispered in my ear, as I felt his head now rest on my shoulder. My boy. No matter what burden you carry in the future, I will make sure to share it with you. Me too. I smiled, gently kissing her head. Eva. Frowning slightly at the sudden call, I turned towards the voice, finding myself pleasantly surprised. Sarah, Jaden. In front of me was a family, Sarah Allen and Jaden Smith. I worked alongside Sarah for a while at the Walmart warehouse, and that's how I met her boyfriend, who turned out to be quite nice. Although by now they must be Mrs. and Mr. Allen. They were good friends during those times until they got married and moved to another city. Eva, it's you. Sarah smiled broadly, instantly coming to hug me, only to be stopped as she looked at my son in my arms. Oh my God, Jaden squealed, quickly approaching Christian, turning to face him. Where did you find this cutie? Eva, is that your son? Sarah asked in amazement. Yes, this is my Christian, I smiled at the couple, as I turned Christian around and lifted him into the air, letting him hang in front of them. Christian, these are Sarah and Jaden, Mom's friends. Say hi. Hello, Christian whispered softly, then turned to me and quickly tightened his grip on my neck. What a cute boy, Jaden exclaimed in amazement, then he went up to Christian and tried to take him in his arms. Come here to Uncle, let me look at you more closely. No, Christian whispered quickly, clinging tightly to my neck. Don't be shy. With a slight pout, Jaden then pulls something out of his pocket. Look, a candy. I don't want to, Christian murmured, his body trembling slightly again, causing me great confusion. Why is he shy? I thought I had already left that side of him behind. Besides, why is it shaking? Are you afraid? Cold. Honey, you seem to scare the children, ha 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 Tilda, Sarah laughed out loud. Watch me and learn how it's done. Hi Christian, I'm sorry if my husband scared you, he gets a little excited when he sees something cute, Sarah said softly, as she slowly approached Christian's side, making my son slowly turn his gaze towards her. Look how beautiful you are, Sarah smiled gently, as she squeezed Christian's cheeks a little, then she took out her wallet and smiled, here's $1 for you to buy whatever you want. This bitch. Are you bribing my son? Eggs Tilda. As if my little genius would fall in love with that crap. Thank you, Christian whispered, gently taking the bill in front of him, instantly freezing my mocking expression. What a well-mannered child, Sarah smiled gently, as she stroked Christian's head. Mom, put me down, Christian whispered, as he turned towards me. Bastard. To deceive my son without money. Mom, you can talk to them, I'm going to sit down. Christian spoke softly, while pointing towards a bench about 2 meters away from me. Okay, but don't move from there. Yes, Mom, Christian replied, as he slowly walked away with his backpack hanging from his hand. He ignored me all this time. Jaden muttered with a defeated expression. Chapter 28, Does Love Have Logic? Man, with the expression you had at that moment, it's a wonder you didn't leave my little one traumatized, I smiled mockingly. Raising his middle finger, Jaden replied, you're still in a bad mood. It's nice to see you again, you piece of shit. Sarah smiled happily as she came over to give me a hug, which I accepted with a smile. Those fat balls just keep growing, Sarah joked, giving me a light slap on the breasts. What about you, are you pregnant? I asked mockingly while looking at the large amount of fat on the woman's stomach. It's this man's fault, he won't stop baking his damn cakes. He just refuses the food, you idiot. Leave her alone, Eva. It's better for me that she's fat. That way, another bitch won't try to take her away from me. Jaden smiled warmly as he linked his arm with Sarah's. Raising my eyebrows, I turned my gaze back to Sarah with disdain. And you were so stupid that you fell into his trap. I didn't fall for it, I jumped on him myself. Sarah laughed slightly, as she kissed the head of the man beside her. Stupid, I laughed, amused. Just pray that Jaden doesn't replace you with someone else or cheat on you because you're too heavy. Peef, that would never happen, darling. Sarah smiled as she turned to look at the man with a loving expression. Of course not, my little bear. I would never trade you for another woman. I never have, and I never would. Jaden smiled lovingly, gazing lovingly into Sarah's face. Stop acting so lovingly in front of me, you idiots. You disgust me, I said irritably, then I turned to Sarah and said, so, tell me, how have you been? Everything's fine. And you? Sarah asked. Apart from some money problems, everything has been perfect. I can see that, Sarah laughed, turning her gaze back to Christian. Is that the child you were pregnant with when you were working with Sarah? Yes, he's my baby, I smiled gently as I looked at my Christian in the seat, who was staring blankly at the floor. Let me tell you, she doesn't look anything like you. She must have clearly inherited her father's good looks, Jaden replied mockingly. What are you talking about? Clearly my Christian persecuted me. PFF'd, you. Stop dreaming, woman. Tisk, I won't stoop to your level, I huffed irritably, then turned to Sarah. So, what are you doing in this area? Didn't you move to another city? Yes, we had moved to Lansing, but a few weeks ago we sold the house and moved to an apartment in Detroit. Oh, why? I was fed up with that shitty town, Sarah huffed irritably. Are you sure they didn't kick you out of the place for eating everything? Bitch. And where do you live? We could meet up one of these days. Sarah and I have been feeling quite lonely in this city, Jaden asked. For now we're staying where we always have, but we have enough to buy a house, so I was visiting real estate agencies to see what's going on. Oh, congratulations, Jaden smiled awkwardly. Meanwhile, with Christian. Scary. I'm not homophobic or anything like that, but I was afraid to see that man approach me. That smile was creepy. That damn Stu gave me the creeps. He even offered me a damn candy. What is he? One of those pedophiles they show in movies. Looking up at the couple, I can tell from their words and actions that they are very close to mom. The woman named Sarah looks good. She has long, wavy brown hair and dark brown eyes, while everything about her is kind of filler. She is a little shorter than my mother, and she has a large mole on the edge of her nose, which reminds me of the witches in stories. She's not ugly at all. It's just that her extra weight is quite noticeable because of her somewhat tight clothes. But her gentle smile makes up for that. But the woman has an eccentric sense of style. She was wearing a sleeveless red shirt, while underneath she wore military-style trousers. Although it's funny to see my thin mother with bigger breasts than the fattest woman. The man is quite different, he's a bit shorter than Sarah, I'd say about 5 feet 5 inches. It's making me question the average height of men, because until now, I've only ever seen tall women, while the men I've seen are quite short compared to the norm in my world. He has short, blonde hair and unusual light blue eyes that appear to have small flecks of brown in them. He has a slender build but looks quite healthy. He was wearing a light blue short-sleeved shirt and odd-looking shorts. Quite short. Without a doubt, the shortest I've ever seen, barely reaching his butt. Something that, unfortunately, will stay with me forever. Her face looked pretty average in my opinion, not to say average is bad. In my past life, I was handsome, but only average. The man has some facial imperfections that may have been left over from puberty, but other than that, he looked quite decent, no beard, no mustache, all normal for this world, I think. But without a doubt, what left the biggest impression on me about him was his personality. I suppose it's fairly common in this world, but it's hard for me to think of a man with such a sweet personality. The couple looks young, but it's easy to say they're older than mom, I'd say a lot. How old are they? Mom says they're friends, but I've never seen them before. So that leaves two options. They live together every day at her job, or she knew them before. From their reactions I can tell that they haven't seen each other in a long time, instantly ruling out the first option. Of course not, my little bear. I would never trade you for another woman. I never have, and I never would. Ah. What the hell was that? I panicked, as I felt my stomach churn violently out of nowhere. This feeling. It's like the feeling I had when I spoke to mom yesterday. What is it? I let it go yesterday, an upset stomach is nothing unusual. But this shit is on another level. I feel like I'm going to vomit at any moment, but at the same time, I have nothing to vomit. Am I really sick? Apart from some money problems, everything has been perfect. Ah. Not again. Damn. What the heck is wrong with my stomach? Stomach cancer. Stomach worms. A freaking alien. What I do? I don't want to worry, Mom. Should I search for it on Google? No, I'm sure that shit will tell me I have cancer, regardless of the symptoms. For now we're staying where we've always stayed, but we have enough to buy a house, so I've been visiting real estate agents to see how things are going. Ah. I quickly turned my gaze back to my mother, and was surprised. This is. No, it can't be. I felt this 5 times. It happened 3 times with Mom's comments, once with Chubby Jack, and the last time with the man's comment. It happened 3 times because of lies. Does it have anything to do with that? No, impossible. Although it is strange that I can hear them as if it were nothing at this distance, I was already prepared to have a slight auditory advantage. Ever since I remembered the Genesis of Alexandria, everything somehow became irrelevant. As if I took it for granted that it was all the same. But what the hell is this? Does my stomach hurt every time Mom lies? Does that mean I was sad yesterday? No, it's simply impossible. We're not talking about slightly superior strength, or better hearing, let alone better eyesight, which I think I have. We're talking about something as complicated as a sixth sense or some crap like that. Body strength is one thing, I can accept that to some extent, although I think it's quite rare. But this. It breaks all the damn logic. Well. What is the logic behind my reincarnation? None. But. What if I really have this shit? Does it only work with Mom? I don't recall ever having gone through anything similar. I doubt anyone has gone through something similar. Will I have to feel this shit every time Mom lies? No. I gain nothing from lying to myself. Jack also lied and it upset my stomach. If this is really happening, am I going to have to live with this shit for the rest of my life? To know every time someone lies. Ah. I suppose I could eliminate the politician's route. I'm sure I would die of pain. Wait. If everything is based on lies, does that mean the man cheated on his wife? Oh. Holy shit. But. Is it all a lie? It's a vital point. If everything I suspect is true, I can tell if someone is lying, but how far? Of course, the man said, of course not, my little bear. I would never trade you for another woman. I never have and I never will. The first sentence is in response to his wife's question, where he tells her that he would never trade her for another woman or cheat on her. From there I started to feel bad, but he also said that he would never trade her for another woman and that he never has and never would. There are several statements in one answer, but the pain in my stomach persisted as always for a few seconds, persisting throughout the entire answer. Is it all a lie? I can't jump to conclusions. Clearly, Mom lied, but some of the things she said were true, like the house search. I saw it myself when she commented on the subject and talked about houses with that imbecile she should call father. He also lied when he said that everything was fine and that he was only having financial problems. Yesterday I saw her quite furious, she even ended up taking some of that anger out on me. Hee tilde. How exciting. It feels so good to have things to find out. How do I do it? Should I ask the man directly if he would cheat on his wife? Wouldn't that be too rude? I shouldn't do that, I murmured with a strange emotion as I bit my thumb while looking at the man in front of me. But I can't help it. I just need to approach the conversation correctly. If I ask uncomfortable questions, Mom shouldn't answer me, I know her too well for that to happen. And who better than a man to answer a child's questions? Quickly getting up from my seat, I approach Mom, standing silently behind her. Mom, I spoke softly, while tugging at his shirt. Yes, Mom replied as she turned to me with a smile. What does it mean to be replaced by another? Huh, stunned, Mom turned to look at the couple behind her, who were already stifling their laughter. Mother. Ah, yes, that means, Mom stuttered, clearly showing that she didn't know what to say. Everything was perfect. Don't lie to me, Mom, I whispered with a serious expression. I'm a smart boy. Well, being replaced by someone else means that. Ah, how can you be so slow? Jaden exclaimed in annoyance, as he approached me with a smile. Perfect. Look, Christian, that word can have many meanings, but your mom used it to refer to romantic relationships. Do you understand what a romantic relationship is? Jaden explained gently, as he crouched down to my level. Yes, it's when two people love each other. Well, it's something like that. So in a relationship, many things can happen. In some cases, the woman leaves the man and falls in love with someone else. Only women. Men can do it too, obviously. Oh, but isn't that the same as being unfaithful? No, infidelity is when you're in a relationship and your partner cheats on you. You've fallen. Oh, I see. Uncle, do you love Aunt Sarah? Of course it is, it's the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to me. Jaden smiled gently, while glancing sideways at the woman. That is to say, true. So you wouldn't exchange it for another one? Of course not, I plan to grow old with her and have many beautiful children like you. True. So you haven't been unfaithful to him either? I asked innocently, while tilting my head slightly. Obviously not, she's the love of my life. Jaden smiled lovingly, then turned and looked at Sarah. Right, darling. Ah. I love you, baby, Sarah smiled foolishly. Holy shit. It's worse than I thought. This bastard is cheating on mom's friend. But the worst part is that he loves her. What kind of reality is that? Chapter 29, Happy. Do you have any other questions? Jaden asked, snapping me out of my inner surprise. No, thank you very much, I smiled broadly, then ran back to my seat. Still don't you understand the conversation? I heard Sarah's voice behind me. What are you saying, stupid? Obviously not, he's still too young for that. Eva is 9 years old, at that age, you should already start introducing them, even if it's just about the topic of love. Tisk, don't talk about love, he's still young and that's all. Mom answered angrily, causing a slight smile to appear on my face. So that bitch loves mom's friend. Does he even want to have children with her and grow old together? What crazy shit is this? Can you really love someone and cheat on them? I don't understand. Perhaps she knows and allows it. I heard many cases where men allowed their wives to sleep with other men. Is it something similar? I couldn't know, and it would also be very strange if I went and asked him questions about that. They love each other, that's confirmed. Sarah believes that he wouldn't trade her for another, something that Jaden assured and turned out to be true. So he cheats on her, but he loves her. That leaves me with more variables for this skill. How far does this ability of mine extend? Does it only activate if they tell a lie? But what if Sarah believes her boyfriend would never change her, and it turns out to be a lie? What happens if a person believes something is true, but it isn't? Would you detect it? I can't take the example of the couple. Clearly, they both claim they would never leave each other, but at the same time, he lied about his infidelity. Besides, when Jaden asked her to confirm that he would never cheat on her, Sarah simply replied with, I love you, cutting me off from exploring this further. Goodbye, Christian. Looking up towards the voice, I find the couple saying goodbye to me with a big smile. Goodbye, I smiled slightly, waving my hand in farewell, while out of the corner of my eye I caught a glimpse of her hands clasped together. Oh, my goddess, what a cute boy. Jaden exclaimed in a high-pitched voice, turning quickly to Sarah with a little jump. Sarah, we're going to have one just like him. How creepy. I don't think that's possible, dear, Sarah replied doubtfully, while glancing sideways at my hair. Stupid, Jaden smiled slightly, as they began to cross the street. Even if that guy cheated on her, they look happy. Is it an illusion of happiness? What if Sarah doesn't know he's cheating on her? Will all that happiness vanish instantly? Let's walk, my prince. Extending her hand towards me, Mom smiled at me. MN, I nodded distractedly, quickly taking his hand. I need to know if I'm only detecting what a person believes is a lie, or if it goes beyond that. It could create an opportunity. Mom, I want to buy Haley and Alan candy with my money. Are you sure? It's your first dollar, you should save it. Mom smiled gently. Okay, I'll have plenty of those in the future, let's buy some candy. Get it done for you, there should be a store a few blocks away. With those words, we walked calmly through the streets, while I curiously observed everything around me. For me, it's the first time I've walked through these places. There's nothing special, no big buildings, no big stores, nothing that stands out, but for some reason, seeing the houses around creates a certain comfort. What do you want to buy? Startled momentarily by the sudden tap on my shoulder, I look at Mom, perfectly observing her gentle smile that comforts me so much. Still a little confused, I turn my gaze to my sides and notice something curious. When do we arrive at the store? A few seconds ago, Mom said she was a few blocks away. There's no way we could have gotten there that fast. I see. I got lost in my surroundings again. Am I that absent-minded? But those houses were interesting. So many small details, so many different colors, practically every one of them had something new that made them different. Cracks, lack of paint, mold, etc. Cristiano. Oh, yes. I answered listlessly, while taking a quick look at the sweets on the shelf in front of me. They're more or less the same as the ones from my old world, only the design has changed, and I even see different brands. Which ones are the best to grab for $1? Ideally, you should take out quite a few, so you can eat more. Berry Flush 20 cents. They look like fruit-flavored gummies. My 15 cents. A small cookie, but I hate cookies, I prefer cakes. Dog Stick 10 cents. Dog Stick. Who was the idiot who came up with that name? Well. Yes, it's a stick, chocolate to be exact, although they are quite small, at least the size of my pinky finger. That's quite short when you consider that my big toe is half the size of my mom's little toe. But hey, they're pretty cheap and the chocolate is good. I love them, as much as I can possibly have in my hands. I muttered decisively while glancing with hidden amusement at the hippie dog logo on the wrapper. 10. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay, let's pay. Shrugging, Mom took the exact amount and we approached the cashier who was watching us intently. Hello, good afternoon, Mom smiled politely, as she handed the chocolates to the woman. The woman didn't answer, she just took the chocolates and began picking them up one by one. Would that be $1 or anything else? Frowning slightly at the woman's attitude, Mom turned towards me with her hand outstretched. Quickly taking the bill out of my pocket, I hand it to Mom. Here's the money, I don't want anything else, Mom replied coldly, as she handed over the bill. The ticket, boredly, the woman handed the ticket and the bag of chocolates to Mom, without bothering to give her another look. What a rude bitch. Eva murmured, quickly taking the bag as she walked away. Wait, Mom. I quickly took the bag from her hands, took out a chocolate and headed to the cashier. Here, miss, a chocolate can brighten your day. With obvious confusion, the woman extended her hand, slowly receiving the chocolate. It's not good to be so angry, I think a smile would look much better on you. I smiled gently. I don't know what happened in your life, but I hope everything gets better in the future and that you have a lot of happiness ahead of you. With one last smile, I took Mom's hand and walked forward to leave the store. I can't be angry with that woman. I myself worked as a cashier in a coffee shop. The clientele can be awful, especially those bastards who think they have the right to yell at everyone. Child, thank you. Turning around for a moment, I successfully observe a smile on the woman's face, making me feel a sense of satisfaction. What was that? Mom asks curiously. What thing? The thing in the store. Oh, I just wanted the woman to have a better day. Because. Yes. Why? I whispered softly, finding my attitude rather unusual. I never used to care about what was happening in other people's lives, let alone encourage strangers. What motivated me? Would I have liked someone to tell me those things? Is that reason enough? Surely in my old life, it wasn't a sufficient reason, since I never did anything similar. I even remember sometimes behaving like an idiot with some of them. So why did I do it? Turning my head towards Mom, I look closely at her confused face. Yeah. I always find my answers in Mom. My mom also works in something similar. That woman could be someone's mother. So I thought if I could make her day a little brighter, why not? But if I think about it, I managed to make her smile, but mostly because I'm a kid. If an adult said that to me, I probably wouldn't take it seriously unless the person was a pretty woman, obviously. I would accept his words with a smile. Ha ha ha. Mom laughed loudly, then quickly picked me up and kissed me repeatedly all over my face. My prince is so cute, ha ha ha. Smiling slightly, I happily returned Mom's hug, fully enjoying this intoxicating feeling. I never thought it was possible to be so happy. This feeling that seems to run through my veins is incredible. It's a feeling that's hard to explain, but it makes me believe I can take the world into my own hands without any problem. My body and mind are screaming for more physical contact, screaming for more affection, demanding more of this feeling. The day looks so bright and beautiful, Mom's lips on my face feel so soft and welcoming. Turning around for a moment, I gently look at my mother's face. Mom. Letting go of me for a moment, Mom smiles at me, yes. I'm so happy to have you in this life, I murmur softly, as I affectionately caress Mom's face. I'm happy to have you all. I'm so happy that my body feels restless and euphoric. I don't know how to handle these heavy feelings. But I feel the need to tell you that I love you too, Mom. Sigh. It feels so good just saying it. Turning my gaze back to Mom, I can see her expression freeze as she looks at me with obvious bewilderment. With concern, I touch Mom's shoulder. Mom. Did I scare her? Did I say something I shouldn't have? My boy sniff, Mom replied hesitantly, as she quickly wiped away the tears that were seeping from the corners of her eyes. No, please. As I watched the tears fall from Mom's eyes, I felt my heart instantly clench. For the second time. I made Mom cry twice in less than a week. Desperate and worried, I quickly grabbed Mom's shoulders and exclaimed, Mom. Are you okay? Did I do something to upset you? If so, But before I could apologize, a grip pulled me down onto Mom's breasts. I'm not sniff sad or anything, Mom whispers softly, then she takes my head and pulls me away from her breasts, making my gaze meet hers, which makes me feel so relieved to see the beautiful smile on her face. I'm happy, so happy. Sigh. Letting out a sigh of relief, I ask hesitantly, but you're happy. Why are you crying? Because when people are very happy, they often cry. It's incredible, it's the first time I've experienced it and it's thanks to you. Mom smiled gently, while lovingly caressing my face. Crying tears of joy. Everything is possible, my son. Just look at me, who would have thought I'd have such a cute child? What a scare. Is this what I looked like when I cried from feeling so happy the other day? Smiling reassuringly, I said, I love you, Mommy. Me too, my child, Mom whispered, gently kissing my forehead. I love you so much, my prince. I'm so happy to hear your words. Tilda, I smiled foolishly, feeling like at any moment my brain would melt from the overwhelming amount of emotions flooding me at this moment. Shall we go? Mom asked with a smile, rubbing her nose against mine, making my own smile bloom. I nodded happily. Feeling loved is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Chapter 30, Charges. When we get to the motel, while walking with Mom, I look at her for a moment and say, I'll give Alan 4 candies and Haley 4 more. Confused, Mom turns her gaze to me. Why are you telling me this? They're yours, you can do whatever you want. Besides, you'd only have 1 left, you don't need to give them all away. Okay, I want to give them. Looking at me for a few seconds, Mom shrugs and turns her gaze back to the motel visible a few meters away. As you wish. Everything is ready. The truth is that my plan is quite simple. Now, Mom will think I'm going to give that amount to my siblings, but the truth is I'm only going to give them 2 each. Including my older sister, obviously. I just have to ask Mom how many sweets she was going to give them, making her answer me with a lie that she believes is true. With this, I will confirm the extent of my ability. I am undoubtedly a damn genius. After a few minutes, we found ourselves arriving at our room, beginning the moment of truth. Mother. Yeah. How many candies should I give Alan and Haley? With a confused expression, Mom turns to me, are you feeling okay? Yes, Mom, don't worry. But could you tell me how many candies I should give Alan and Haley? You will give them 4 each. Well. I felt nothing. I guess I confirmed that I only detect what the person knows is a lie. This ability, it has many drawbacks, but at the same time, it's very useful. I just have to make sure I use it well, or it could become a double-edged sword. Smiling happily, thank you, Mom, I love you. Looking at me with raised eyebrows, Mom turns forward and murmurs, sigh I'll never understand men, no matter their age. I never thought I'd hear that from a woman. It's quite funny. With a small smile, we continued towards the room, entering it after a few minutes, finding a rather peculiar view. Don't jump on the bed. Alan, be careful. My older sister was screaming with obvious exhaustion on her face, as she tried to catch Haley and Alan, who were jumping between the beds. Get out of bed right now. Mom screamed, walking angrily towards my brothers, quickly grabbing Alan before he jumped, while Haley instantly climbed down on her own. Hi Mom, Haley smiled shyly, slowly approaching Eva. Put me down. Alan squirmed violently, doing his best to escape from Eva's arms. Ignoring the scolding momentarily, I headed towards my sister Ashley, who was lying on the bed in the back, staring wearily at the ceiling. Without speaking, I climbed somewhat awkwardly onto the bed, then sat on his stomach, looking at his confused face. Hello. Hold me close, I whispered lazily, as I leaned back against his chest. With surprise and confusion, Ashley turns her head towards Eva, trying to find answers in her. Just hug him, he's happy, Eva smiled gently, as she put Alan down, making the little rebel run towards Haley. With obvious discomfort, Ashley wrapped her arms around my back. My older sister. She is warm like Mom. After a few minutes of enjoyment, I slowly get up, looking at the stunned Ashley again. Taking 2 chocolates out of my pocket, I placed them on Ashley's chest and smiled, for you. F for me, Ashley asked as she took the chocolates with a slight tremor in her hands. Yeah. Why are you giving them to me? Because I love you. With trembling eyes, Ashley hugged me tightly, completely confusing me. Did I miss something? Why does everyone get sad when I tell them I love them? Sniff T, thank you. No. Again. What the hell is wrong with that? Why are you crying? I asked in a panic, quickly lifting my upper body to look at my sister. Sniff I thought you hated me. Sniff after all, I'm just a sniff you useless, Ashley replied through her tears, quickly wiping away the few tears that escaped. Useless. What's so useless about it? Why do you say that? I whispered, frowning, looking at the pitiful woman below me. I'm useless. I can't Sniff P protect you. It's normal Sniff that you don't even want to talk to me. Protect myself. About what? Looking up, I notice Mom's confused expression, confirming that she doesn't know what Ashley is talking about either. Oh. Are you serious about that bitch of a father we have? Sister, are you saying that because of that man? No, Sniffs don't mind. Ashley smiled, hugging me for the third time. Liar. So she's talking about that guy. She feels guilty that she couldn't prevent that shit from happening. Did he think that was why he wasn't talking to her? I heard her and I didn't even realize it. She is only 14 years old. 14 damn years and she's living through this shit. Having to work all day, while carrying emotional burdens for an unstable family. It's no wonder he ended up taking drugs to cope with it all. Sister, I never hated you, I truly appreciate what you do. I smiled gently, rubbing my cheek against hers. And I never avoid talking to you or anything like that. I'm just silent. Or rather, I was, so now you'll have to put up with my voice, as I no longer plan to be silent. I felt my sister's body tense for a moment, then I heard something that brought me great relief. Ha 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 Tilda, I'm never home, so it won't be my problem. Smiling at his comment, I relax against his chest. At least for now, the problems were solved. Mom is no longer worried about me, and Ashley was able to let go of some of her emotional baggage. After a few minutes of relaxation, I pull away from Ashley's arms and get out of bed, looking at my little brothers, who were already lying down with the television on. Haley, Alan, I have chocolates. I smiled proudly, leaving 4 chocolates for a perceptive look. When I finished speaking, they both quickly got out of bed, looking at me with bright eyes. Mom, I want to. Alan spoke quickly, as he turned to Mom, who was already lying in the bed next to him. Brother, me too, Haley said, but in an incredibly low voice, bordering on a whisper. So. Haley is the shy one and Alan is the spoiled brat. I guess if I had a video game console, Alan would be a pain in the neck. Although I do think it should be a woman, I don't think she'd care about a video game console. They belong to your brother, you have to ask him, Eva replied lazily. But Mom, won't Christian share any chocolates with me? Can you tell him to give me one? Alan asked, as small tears began to form around the edges of his eyes. No, I told you they belong to your brother, you have to ask him. But Mom. I already said no. Christian, turning to me, Alan looked directly at my chocolates. Mom says you have to share the chocolates with me. This. Doesn't he know that everyone can hear him? Christian, will you share with me? Haley asked, without taking her eyes off the chocolates in my hand. On one condition. Which? You have to give me a hug. Upon hearing my request, Haley formed a rather reluctant expression, easily showing her unwillingness. Sigh, just a hug, okay. Ha 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 Tilda, laughing, I opened my arms wide, waiting for the girl to extend herself. Mom, tell him something, Christian won't give me chocolate. Ignoring Alan's shouts, I focus on Haley, who slowly approaches me, then wraps her small arms around my back. Gotcha Tilda, I smiled gently, enjoying the human warmth. Who knew hugs could be so nice? I missed out on so many amazing things in my past life. For you, you earned them. Releasing her from my embrace, I extended my hand with 2 sweets, which she happily accepted, then I ran to the bed. Mom, Christian gave chocolates to Haley, but not to me. Sigh. Is it so difficult for him to ask me? Turning towards the voice, I notice Alan moving my mother's arm, while looking at her with teary eyes. Alan, they're not mine, you have to ask him. But Mom, Christian won't share candy with me. He just gave Haley 2. With his eyes wide open, Alan turns to his sister, instantly noticing that she had the 2 chocolates in her hand. Haley, give me chocolates. Alan ran towards her while shouting, only to freeze when he saw Haley quickly open them and put them in her mouth. Sigh 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 sigh. He chewed Haley loudly, while looking into Alan's eyes. This girl. I like it. Mom, Haley ate all the candy. Sniff, said Alan, as tears began to well up in his eyes. The chocolates. Sigh. Alan, I have more here, I said, extending my hand and showing the 2 remaining chocolates. Seriously? Alan exclaimed as he ran towards me, then grabbed the 2 candies and went back to the bed, completely forgetting that just a few seconds ago he was crying. I feel sorry for the woman who wants to marry him. Shaking my head, I turned to my backpack and opened it, taking out a pencil and a notebook, then walked towards Mom's bed. Let's start writing. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. But before writing, let's get comfortable. Smiling to myself, I climb onto Mom's bed and watch her with shining eyes. Without asking, I approach her and lift her shirt, revealing her bra. Looking up, I glance at Mom and speak in the softest voice possible. Mom. May I? Ha 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 Tilda, of course you can, after all they belong to my cute boy. The mother laughed heartily, lifting herself up slightly to undo her bra, exposing her beautiful breasts. Thank you, Mom, I smiled happily as I settled down next to her, then cupped one of her breasts in my hands and took her nipple in my mouth. It has a salty taste. I guess it must be the sweat. Never mind, let's get to work. When I open the notebook, I pick up the pencil and concentrate on writing. What are you doing? Christian asked me to use my breasts. Something that happened quite frequently these last few days. But every time he did, he would relax or fall asleep. But now. Are you typing? It's been going on for about 3 hours non-stop, my chest is already numb. It doesn't matter, my baby is happy, that's what's important. In fact, Christian stopped breastfeeding a few minutes ago. He just keeps my nipple in his mouth and that's it. Why does he like these fat balls so much? I understand that he likes to sleep in them, they are quite soft. But breastfeeding. Even the milk won't come out. Sigh. Why can't I understand my son? I understand everyone else except him. Is it because of their intelligence? Am I too stupid? No. I don't understand everyone. Why did Ashley cry? Does she also know what Christian told me about Brian? Brian. Ashley, I said as I looked at my stepdaughter. Yeah. Come closer, I need to talk to you. As she got up from the bed next to me, Ashley came closer and then sat down beside me. Ashley, my daughter, I want to ask you something. Just ask Mom, don't beat around the bush. Did you notice the change in Christian? How could I not? I've never seen him talk so often. Ashley smiled slightly, then turned her gaze back to my chest. Besides, I don't remember him ever being so affectionate. Yes, it's something new, I smiled as I looked at my young son, who never stopped writing. But what I want to talk to you about is something else. Christian cried yesterday. He did what? Ashley exclaimed in amazement, staring wide-eyed at my young son. Shish, don't make so much noise, you'll alert Christian. But he's awake. Have you already forgotten? I smiled, then looked down and said a little louder, Christian. Christian, I'm talking to you. He never responds when he's concentrating on something, his behavior may have changed, but not this. Sigh, I had forgotten. All good. Why are you asking? You don't usually forget things like this. Oh, yes, I'm a little tired. Well, I nodded without thinking twice. I wanted to ask you something very important. When Christian cried, he told me things about your father. When I finished speaking, I instantly noticed Ashley stiffening, while her hands trembled slightly. I see, so it's all true. Chapter 31, Confrontation. Mom. You don't have to worry. I'm sorry I didn't find out sooner. I shook my head bitterly, while my hand clenched tightly in anger. Be honest with me, how long ago did it start? And don't you dare lie to me. Sigh, I don't know, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, maybe more. 4 or 5 years, maybe more. Clenching my fists even tighter with growing anger, I turned to Christian, observing his peaceful expression. Years. Years of bitterness that my children had to live through. It's all my fault. All because I couldn't be with them. Yo-yo, I'm sorry. For my fault, I whispered in a broken voice, as I felt a lump forming in my throat. Mom, Ashley interrupted, taking my hand and giving me a reassuring smile. Don't overthink it, you have a lot to carry and I understand. Besides, I'm just worried about Christian. For some reason, Dad always focused on him. My Christian. Relax Eva, there's no point in losing control. At least not in front of your girls. I was trying to get his attention towards me, I can't stand any problems, I'm a woman after all. But it was only good for a while, he always ended up focusing on Christian. Easy Eva. Couldn't you stop him? Quote dot dot dot. What am I supposed to do? Should I have hit my father? Call the police. Quote dot dot dot. Couldn't you have told me sooner? Quote dot dot dot. Believe it or not, it was Christian who asked not to speak to you. Christian, I exclaimed in astonishment, quickly lowering my gaze. But, why? Why do you think? My brother is smarter than you think, Mom. Don't mistake him for a normal kid. I know, I discovered yesterday that he's a genius. A genius? Ashley asked, raising her eyebrows. Yes, it's a long story, I'll tell you later. Ashley. MN. Your father, what was he doing to them? Quote dot dot dot. Do you really want to know? Yes, I need to know. Sigh, I don't know where to begin. He never spoke, just hit. Some slaps, hair pulling. Sometimes he threw plates at us. Christian dragged him by the hair around the house. I couldn't do anything, Ashley whispered, her voice getting smaller and smaller. He didn't ask for help. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He didn't do anything. Sniff while I just watched everything. Sniff, Ashley murmured, as tears began to trickle from her eyes. Biting my lips hard, I turned my gaze towards my other children, who were watching television indifferently. Jay Solo, was I only doing it to the two of you? Yes, Christian and I used to hide Alan and Haley. They always went unnoticed. Like I said, Dad always focused on Christian. Scratching my neck nervously, I looked down at Christian, who was still writing as if nothing was happening. I just don't understand. Sniff, why take it away from him? Sniff, I told him many times that if he wanted to hit someone, he should hit me. Sniff, but he never listened. I always went after him. Yo-yo asterisk olfo, I'm so useless asterisk olir, I'm sorry Mom asterisk olefa, I couldn't protect my brother. At this point, Ashley was shedding bitter tears, while my lips were starting to bleed from biting too hard. Shush Tilda, don't cry Ashley, it's not your fault. But. Ashley, you don't have to wear that, you're still a child. Even though our situation isn't the best and you ended up dropping out of school, you're still a child. It's my fault, not yours. I smiled gently. Besides, didn't Christian tell you he loved you very much? If you had failed him as you think you did, would he have said those words to you? Sniff. You know this boy doesn't lie. If he says it, it's because those words come from his heart. In his mind, you were very brave, I assure you. Sniff. Really? Of course, yes, I smiled gently, as I reached out to touch Ashley's shoulder. Now dry those tears and wash your face. If your brothers see you they will be very worried. Ashley nodded, getting up and then walking towards the bathroom. My children, I whispered to him, while I said to Christian with complex emotions, what am I supposed to do? Brian. Sigh. What am I going to do with you? Mom, are you okay? Upon hearing Ashley's worried voice, I put my thoughts aside and looked at her. Of course I do. Why do you ask? No reason. Ashley, come here. With Ashley by my side, I make her lie down next to me and say, lend Christian your breasts to get comfortable, I need to go get some air. Huh. I'm telling you to hug Christian while I'm gone, it must be comfortable for him to be among these fat balls. But I don't know what to do, Ashley replied nervously, as she looked at Christian who was still writing. Rolling my eyes, I reply with a smile, why so hesitant? You just put your arm around him and let him lean on you, that's all. Well, Ashley replied hesitantly, as she carefully lay down on her side. Okay, I'll move him, I smiled slightly, as I gently lifted Christian and slowly moved him towards Ashley. When he reached Ashley's arms, Christian stopped writing for a moment, only to move his hand and grab Ashley's breast, instantly bringing it to his mouth, only to bump against his clothes. Oh Tilda, Ashley moaned softly, instantly making me frown. Did you just moan? I asked incredulously. No, I was surprised. I'm not used to it like you are, Ashley replied with an embarrassed expression. Well, I didn't think Christian would do that. But if he's comfortable with it, it's okay. I guess, I whispered hesitantly, as I felt a little strange seeing Christian touching a breast that wasn't mine. Well, I spoke hesitantly, then smiled. But seriously, moaning, are you going after women now? I don't go after women. Ashley exclaimed angrily. I was surprised, that's all. Okay, I believe you. I smiled mockingly, then reached into my pocket and pulled out my cell phone. Here, so you don't get bored, Christian will probably be in that position for a few more hours. You know him, if he didn't talk and eat, you'd mistake him for a statue. Thank you, Ashley replied, quickly taking the cell phone from my hands. Shaking my head, I turned to my other two little ones, finding them just as usual, watching television. Walking towards them, I pick up the remote control next to them and turn down the volume. For today, you can watch TV late, but don't jump between the beds. Yes, Haley exclaims excitedly, quickly taking control of my hands, turning up the volume, only to be ignored as usual. Okay, now I don't have to worry about them. One is on his cell phone, another is in his own world, and the last two are watching television. Brian, what should I do with you? I whispered softly, as I left the room. Hit. Let's go. In the room next to the Gray family, you can see Eva, who is loudly knocking on the door. Hit. I'm coming, damn it, who's so impatient? After a few seconds, the door opened slightly, revealing David's head. Eva, what the hell do you want now? Open the door, I need to talk to Brian. Go to hell, I'm not opening anything. David exclaimed aggressively, trying to close the door instantly. David, open the fucking door or I promise to break it, Eva whispered coldly, while preventing the door from closing with her foot. Do you want me to call the police? I don't have time for your bullshit. Reaching out, Eva grabs the padlock from the chain and pulls it out, then forcefully pushes the door open, causing David to fall to the ground. What the hell are you doing? David shouted in disbelief, quickly standing up. Without responding, Eva scanned the entire room, instantly finding Brian in a bed, staring in terror at Eva. Shaking her head, Eva walks quickly towards Brian. We need to talk. Damn it, I told you to get out of my room. David shouted, as he tried to pull Eva's arm away. Turning around, Eva grabs David's face with one hand and squeezes it. I told you to stop fucking, keep bothering me and I promise to kill you. You dare, bitch. I won't warn you again, Eva whispered, looking coldly into David's eyes. Go to hell, I'll call the police. David exclaimed angrily, quickly releasing his grip on Eva and then running to his bed. Call them, but while they arrest me, you'll have to deal with an anonymous tip about prostitution. Why you? David stuttered, his eyes widening. You think I don't know what you're up to? We've been living in this motel for days, I've seen you leave every night. Besides, I can hear you moaning every night, so shut the fuck up. Without giving the man another look, Eva turned to Brian, showing fury on her face for the first time. Brian, you have a lot of explaining to do to me. Honey, is something wrong? I put up with you getting high, I put up with you yelling at me, I put up with you treating me like shit. Honey. I even support the fact that you spent our little bit of money on that crap. Eva whispered, as her face turned redder and redder with anger. But if there's one thing I won't tolerate from you in this life. Eva whispered, gripping Brian's chin tightly, it's you hitting my children. Eva, what the hell are you doing? David screamed, running quickly to Eva's side, while trying to pull her arm, failing miserably for lack of strength. David, stop fucking around and go to hell. Eva screamed as the veins in her face began to bulge. Look what you're doing, you idiot. Are you going to beat your own man? David shouted in disbelief. David knew about Eva from Brian's stories, he knew she was aggressive when she lost control, but according to Brian, Eva never got angry with her family, something very difficult for him to believe, even more so seeing her current behavior. So what the hell is wrong with her? David thought in a panic, his fear spread within him at the sight of the woman's furious face. Breathing heavily, Eva turns towards David, without letting go of Brian's face, who didn't dare to let out even a scream. Did this bitch tell you what she did to my children? What should you tell me? David asked, frowning. Oh, so you don't know what this bastard did either. Eva exclaimed with a cold smile, then turned and pulled Brian's hair. Come on, tell your new friend what you were doing to Christian and Ashley. Sweetie pea please sniff sorry sniff. Brian answered, as tears streamed from his eyes. Damn it, Eva, let him go to hell. David exclaimed, pulling at Eva's arm. Think of your children, they're in the next room, they'll hear everything. Exhaling heavily, Eva let go of Brian. Even though she knows they are distracted by their own things at the moment, she doesn't want to take any risks with her children. This fucking bitch was beating Christian and Ashley every single day. Eva exclaimed, glaring at the man on the ground, then turning to David, for 5 fucking years. What the hell are you talking about, he wouldn't do that. Sobbing, these sobs are coming from Brian. And what the hell do you know? Eva exclaimed angrily. Sob. Because she told me about her whole damn life. David shouted. Upon hearing David, Eva's furious expression quickly collapsed, while different negative expressions flashed across her face. Anger, sadness, pain, etc. Releasing Brian's head, Eva lay back on the bed, staring in a daze at the man on the floor. For a few minutes, the only sound in the room was the sobbing of the man on the floor, while David just stared at the couple with a frown. What did he say to you? Eve whispered after a few minutes. Everything. Sob. What the hell is all this? Chapter 32, Roto. Everything means everything, David exclaimed angrily, from the abuse he received in his damn family, to the shit he suffered at the hands of his aunt. Sob. Just look at him, David shouted, pointing at Brian. How the hell can you have the heart to mistreat him after everything he's been through? That's what I should be saying, Eva exclaimed, feeling her fury rising again. How the hell does that idiot have the heart to mistreat our children? Sob. Where the hell did you hear that he mistreats his children? From my own children, Eva screamed, violently jumping out of bed. My children couldn't take their bullshit anymore and they ended up falling apart in front of me. They suffered for more than 4 years because of this imbecile's crap. Eva shouted, kicking the bed hard. Sob. There must be something wrong. David shook his head. There's no way he would do that. Look what you're saying, David, Eva replied coldly. I won't allow you to treat my children like liars. I'm not saying they're lying. It's just, sigh, David replied, then turned to Brian doubtfully. Brian, is what your children are saying true? Do you really treat them that way? I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. Explain yourself so we can sort everything out. Sob. Brian, there must be some mistake, right? It's impossible for you to do something like that, David asked again, his doubt becoming more evident as he received no response from the man. Sob. Brian. Don't insist, he knows the shit he did, Eva huffed, while looking at the man with narrowed eyes. Brian, why? David whispered with a bitter expression, accepting reality for what it is. Sniff why? Brian whispered, slowly raising his eyes. Ha ha ha, you ask me why, ha ha. Brian's expression quickly changed from dismay, to fury, to anger, to joy, to regret, and then back to anger. They ask me why, Brian exclaimed violently. I have to see the face of a girl born from a ***** every day. A face that looks exactly like that bitch's. And yet, they still ask me why. Every time I wake up, I see her fucking face. Every time I try to forget, she appears. That damn face that I dislike so much. Brian screamed, his face red, pulling at his hair with his hands, as tears streamed from his eyes. I can't stand her, I hate her, I hate her. Sob. Brian, listen to me. Eva whispered seriously, quickly approaching Brian, then taking him by the chin and forcing him to look her in the face. That girl you're mistreating is your daughter and mine at the same time. I lived through those hard times with you, I was with you every minute, I suffered and cried with you, I share your anger, but Ashley isn't to blame, she didn't ask to come into this world, and she's certainly not to blame for the mess you went through with your family. Sniff but honey, Brian tried to answer, as tears streamed down his face. No buts, Brian, that girl suffered a lot because of us. She calls me mother, and although she's not my biological daughter, in my heart she's as much my daughter as Haley is, Eva whispered, looking coldly at the man in front of her. So I won't accept the shit you're doing, much less try to justify it. Besides, you still haven't explained something to me, Eva whispered, anger rising within her, instantly turning her face crimson. Can you tell me what the hell Christian did to you? Because I'm seriously thinking about killing you, Brian. I already did it once, and I don't care about doing it a second time. You know I don't mess with my children. Upon hearing Eva, both men in the room opened their eyes wide, but for different reasons. While Brian trembled with fear, David was surprised. In a way, David, being a man, understands Brian a little. He too would have found it difficult to live with his rapist's daughter. Although he does not support his action, he chose not to comment or criticize. But what if it turns out that she also hit her son? But what chilled her even more were Eva's words, which sent shivers down her spine. To say she murdered someone so casually is not something a mentally healthy person would say. He really beat that kid, David thought, frowning. He knew Christian himself, and had always found him quite endearing. Just the thought of seeing that kid getting beaten up made his blood run cold. No, the most important thing. Did Eva really kill someone? Brian never said anything about it. Looking cautiously at the woman, David began to wonder if it was right to associate with this couple. My. Don't lie to me, Brian, I know you, I know when you mean. Eva whispered coldly, her hands trembling slightly. Give me a damn explanation because I feel like I'm going to lose my mind any minute now. Olive, looking up slowly, Brian's expression changes, showing a face of pure hatred. What explanation do you want? That damn kid ruined our lives. Because of him, we had to leave your parents' house. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have to live in this shitty motel. At his words, Eva's face turned pale, while her eyes opened wide. Honey, just think about it. Brian pleaded, looking at her with a hopeful expression, as he reached out to hug Eva's leg. If we give the kids up for adoption, we could go back to your house and live comfortably. You wouldn't have to keep working that shit. You could even go back to boxing or playing the drums. But then we could have more children. Brian exclaimed quickly, trying to fix his words when he noticed Eva's face getting paler and paler. It's just, for now, it's not that I don't want to have children with you. With those words spoken, everyone in the room fell silent, even David staring at Brian with wide eyes. But the most affected was Eva, whose face was as white as snow, even her lips turning purple. After a few long minutes, Eva raised her trembling finger and stammered, no. My parents were right. Exhaling heavily, Eva shakes her head and whispers, Yo, I don't want to see you anymore. And don't even think about ever going near my children again. Darling, Brian exclaims, bewildered. Shaking her head with an extremely tired expression, Eva lets go of Brian and turns around, walking weakly towards the exit, while David still stares at Brian in amazement. Eva wait, Brian shouted, quickly getting up from the ground to follow the woman, only to be stopped by David. You, don't move. If you want to try to fix the shit you did, just wait until another time, David whispered, as he approached the door, closing it instantly after Eva left. Upon hearing David's words, Brian collapsed without resistance, while bringing his hands to his face. Sobbing. End. It took me a while to change the names in the story, but I had already read some Harry Potter posts, the kind of posts that change the gender of different characters. Today saw the birth of the famous trio of wizards, Rhonda, Herman and Harriet, as well as the great villain Lady Voldemort. It sounds strange, but it will do. Rule 34 helped a lot in these cases. I still remember when I ended up searching for Harry Potter on that site out of boredom. I still regret having done it, as the first images were not to my liking, much less to my taste. But anyway, I finished writing Harriet Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And in just 5 minutes, I'm a damn genius. No. Something doesn't add up. No matter how great it is, writing a 241-page book isn't something I can do in 5 minutes. Even though my hand doesn't feel tired. Did I write everything down? Turning the pages over to confirm it, I realized that I did indeed write the entire book, which caused a frown to appear on my face. How did I do all this in 5 minutes or less? How long did it take me? I'd better ask Mom. Turning my gaze back to my mother, I encounter something that freezes me in my tracks. These breasts. They're not from Mom. They are much smaller, plus they have clothes on. Mom kept them outdoors for my enjoyment. Looking up through my cell phone, which prevents me from seeing more, I notice something quite surprising. Sister. I whispered in shock, making Ashley turn her gaze towards me. See Christian. Ashley stutters as she pulls me down onto her chest. What are you doing here? No, wait, what am I doing with you? I whisper, confused, only to turn around and look for Mom. Where's Mom? How on earth did I end up above Ashley? Did I confuse her in the first place? No, I'm pretty sure I was with Mom, I can remember it perfectly. But, how did Mom become Ashley? Mom left a few minutes ago, she left me to take care of you. Ashley replied with obvious discomfort. She left. I mumbled, stunned, then turned back to the door. How could I not have noticed? I fell asleep. No, I clearly wrote the whole book, I'm aware of that. Sister, why did I appear above you? Well, Mom lifted you up on me before she left. Opening my eyes wide, I turned dazedly towards her. Did she move me? Yeah. Did it separate me from my source of relaxation without me realizing it? How on earth did that happen? But Ashley didn't lie to me, I can confirm that. Sister, did I fall asleep? I don't remember that happening. I don't know if you've noticed, but you always get lost in your own world when you're doing your thing. We could blow up the house and you wouldn't even notice, Ashley smiled ironically. Oh, I nodded absent-mindedly. Do you know how much time I spent writing? I'd say about 3 hours or so. 3 hours. Holy shit. How did time pass so quickly? In my opinion, it was no more than 5 minutes. But that makes sense, it's impossible for me to write so many pages in such a short time. Is that great? Is that why scientists spend so much time in their laboratories? Is my sense of time affected by my intelligence? Sigh. Moving a little closer to Ashley, I rested my head on her chest, deciding to rest a little longer. Christian, Ashley whispers softly, as I feel a hand caress my stomach. Yeah. You hate me. Do you hate her? Looking up at Ashley, I gaze at her curiously and reply, why would I hate you? On the contrary, I love you very much. Really? Ashley whispers shakily, as I felt her hand tighten a little more against me. Of course you are, you're the best big sister in the world. I smiled softly, as I leaned back against her breasts, but this time, with my face turned towards my sister. When I finished speaking, Ashley hugged me against her body, making my face sink between her breasts. Thank you, Christian. Thank you so much. Ashley smiled sadly. I should be thanking you. I mumbled inaudibly, then stood up and handed my book to Ashley. Look, it's my novel, read it. Your novel? Yes, I wrote it a moment ago, read it, I smiled, as I extended my notebook towards Ashley. Well, my 8-year-old brother wrote a novel. It's completely normal, Ashley whispered, taking my notebook in her hands and then opening it to the first page. Smiling at his words, I leaned back comfortably, not caring about the stomach ache he caused me with his lies. Clawing. Upon hearing the sudden noise, I went to the door, encountering a sight that instantly made me frown. Mom arrived, but in a rather sorry state, her shoulders slumped, her face looked pale and gaunt, while her feet seemed to drag as she walked, something completely different from the woman who usually walks with pride and confidence. Chapter 33, Collapse. Without waiting, I get out of bed and walk to the bed next to her, where Mom has just lain down. Carefully climbing onto the bed, I stand in front of her, slowly making my way into her arms, then staring into her empty eyes, causing my concern to rise to another level. Gently touching Mom's face, I look into her eyes and whisper, I don't know what's causing you so much pain, Mom. But you need to know that you'll always be the best mom there is, and no matter what happens, I'll be with you until the end. Sniff asterisk as she showed me she heard me, Mom's eyes quickly reddened, then she took me in her arms and hugged me tightly while whispering, I will never leave my children. Never in my life. Will you never leave us? What is he talking about? What happened to him? Why did it look so bad? According to Ashley, Mom only left for a few minutes. Whatever affected her must be around here somewhere, because I doubt she said those words just because of some memories of something in the past. Brian. He must be staying close. Did that idiot do anything? My children, Mom murmured a few minutes later, as I watched her eyes slowly close, until only her breathing remained relaxed, which made me understand that she had fallen asleep. Sigh. Problems with a drug addict and an aggressive father, money problems and lack of housing, problems with an older sister who apparently suffers from depression and cures her problems with pills or drugs. At this rate, could my family fall apart at any moment? I should think about resolving these problems as soon as possible. The older sister is quite a challenge, I don't know what her mental state is. She usually acts calm and mature, but today I saw her weakness twice. Money is a fundamental issue that I also need to sort out, I just hope the books work out. Although I don't know much about publishers, the only thing I have from the description is that they generally keep most of the author's money. Something similar applies to musicians. I suppose I should patent the book first so that publishers don't steal it from me. But I need a cover and drawings of the characters, even scenes from the book. I should learn to draw. That will help me a lot when negotiating if they accept the book. I could get a higher percentage of the profits in my name, I could even translate it into other languages myself, I would just have to study the languages more thoroughly. Are there any editors here in Detroit? How much does it cost to patent a book? Do I need anything to do it? Can I patent something in my name if I am a minor? Are there any YouTube videos on how to draw well? I have exact memories of the illustrations in this book, but I doubt I could replicate them without experience. Sigh. We'll see in due time. What's most difficult for me is Brian. What should I do with that idiot? Mom already knows everything, and seeing that this man is no longer with us, she implies that she confronted him and it ended in an argument. But what if he comes back? What can I do? Should you call the police? What if that's why they're trying to keep us away from Mom? It's very likely when you consider where we live. Drug addict father, low-income mother, no stable home, 14-year-old girl out of school to work. No matter how you look at it, everything would go in the wrong direction. Sigh. He may be a genius, but I don't understand what to do in such delicate cases as these. Christian, the food is ready, when you finish eating remember to brush your teeth, Ashley shouted from across the room. Yes, sister. Turning my head towards the window, I could see that it was starting to get dark. I guess that's work for my future self. The night passed normally, and as usual, the next morning Eva got up early to go to work, leaving her children to enjoy their rest, leaving everything in the care of her eldest daughter. The morning passed, and Christian had already woken up along with all his brothers, but without wasting any more time, he took his notebook and began to write the other books of the Harry Potter saga, while his brothers watched television. Time passed quickly until the sun showed signs of setting, but unfortunately, their normal routine was disrupted by the arrival of someone unexpected. Dad. Upon hearing the loud slam of the door closing, everyone looked up, meeting Brian's gaze directly, who was looking at everyone with reddened eyes. What is this bastard doing here? Frowning at the, Dad, look on my face, I put my notebook aside and looked at my older sister, noticing the conflicted look on her face. Father. Ashley stammered, as she got out of bed, slowly approaching the man. Don't call me father. Brian suddenly shouted furiously, while my little brothers trembled at his scream. What the hell is wrong with this idiot? He was always stupid, but he never did anything in front of my little brothers. Confused, I get out of bed, quickly approaching Brian and separating him from my brothers. What are you doing here? With a frown, I confront my father for the first time, causing surprise on his face. Who do you think you are? Brian replied disdainfully, quickly grabbing my hair, causing my face to contort with anger and pain, while my body tensed. Get away from us, Ashley exclaimed, quickly approaching Brian, while trying to pry his arm away from my hair. Dad. Don't touch me, shouted Brian, slapping Ashley hard, causing blood to start leaking from her lip. You don't know how much I hate your fucking existence. What's wrong with him? Looking closely at the man in front of me, I easily notice his bloodshot eyes. Are you on drugs? What the hell did he consume? Dad, Ashley whispered in pain, bringing her hand to her face in disbelief at his words. Dad. Don't call me Dad, Brian yelled, slapping my sister for the second time in front of me, making my mind tense up more and more. Leave her alone. Without resisting any longer, I shouted furiously, pulling Ashley back so that she stood in front of her. Don't yell at me, you damn kid. Brian yelled angrily, as his hand gained momentum to slap me. Enough. Claw strike. With an angry shout, Ashley pushed Brian, causing him to fall to the ground, then grabbed me and hid behind his back. Stop your crap and get out of the room or I'll tell Mom. Why you? His face completely red with anger, Brian stood up from the floor, pointing his trembling finger at Ashley. Do you think your mother will do anything? Of course he will, he's not a bastard like you. Ha 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 ha. Brian laughed exaggeratedly, making me frown. Stupid, your mother hates you all. Lie. I screamed with hatred, as I felt my mind becoming increasingly confused and chaotic. Your mother hates all of you, especially you damn kid. Brian yelled, pointing directly at me while his face reflected pure madness. Your mother hates you, she hates you. It's a lie. Because of your damn fault, your mother has to work like a slave every day, you're the worst thing that could have happened to her in her life. If it weren't for you, your mother would have continued with her dreams, she wouldn't have to work in that fast food shit. With those words, my mind was stunned. I didn't even need to confirm if it was a lie, since I know perfectly well that it's the truth. No matter how much I disliked the idea, I was the one who ruined my mother's life. Thanks to me, he couldn't fulfill his dreams. It was my fault that Mom had to start working at something she probably hates. It's all my fault. Memories and experiences began to torment my mind, helplessness began to run through my body, the lack of strength enraged my blood, making it flow frantically throughout my body, everything in me began to act confused and I felt it more and more as if the blood were something viscous twisting through my veins. Those words and the obvious truth in them keep echoing in my head over and over again, causing self-hatred to dominate my mind. And you, she points her finger at Ashley. You're the most disgusting one, you should disappear and save us the problem. Dad, Ashley whispered sadly, tears beginning to trickle from her eyes, then she screamed in aggravation, why are you punishing me? What did I do to deserve all this shit? Dad. I told you not to call me Dad. Brian shouts, slapping my sister for the third time in front of me. I'm punishing you for living. No. That bastard. Seeing the blood running from Ashley's lip in her blank stare, fury screamed inside me, making me take a step forward and try to push Brian away, but when I was about to touch him, my body froze, as an overwhelming fear assaulted my body, making my arms and legs tremble violently. Fear became visible on my face, but I still did everything I could to regain my mobility, failing again. The fear was so intense that I couldn't deal with it, my whole body began to tremble, to the point that I even felt that at any moment I could urinate. Cool guy. Brian shouts angrily at my attempt, only to raise his hand and Dad. A painful, burning sensation surrounded my cheek, while Brian's laughter repeated itself over and over in my mind. Don't touch it. I heard Ashley scream, as a hand pushed me back, but my mind was no longer processing, all my anger shut down, leaving only fear in me. I sat on the floor, stunned, watching my father beat Ashley, but seconds later, my vision turned purple, and the sounds began to blur. I felt my body shaking violently, and the blood that had been flowing non-stop before began to act erratically. It no longer flowed directly, but every 2 seconds, the blood would stop and then continue flowing, repeating this cycle over and over. I don't know how I managed to feel my body so deeply, but little by little I became aware of everything inside me, and I felt less and less of what was happening around me. My brain, my nervous system, my neurons, my blood, my heart, even my cells, everything felt perfectly as if I had always had the sensation of them, no different from my limbs. My mind was confused, all these new sensations were beginning to take their toll. My brain hurt, I could perfectly feel the overload in it. I felt my blood stop and then rush forward with more force, causing damage to some veins. My heart began to fail, the blood pumped at an uneven rhythm, causing the first symptoms in my nose, where blood began to fall furiously from my nostrils. My muscles began to contract and expand rapidly, causing me sharp pain. My nervous system sent more and more information to my mind. Pain, hunger, more pain, tiredness. All this uncontrolled information made everything turn into a raging storm inside me. Memories kept flooding back to me, while Brian's words echoed louder and louder in my mind, worsening my entire condition. But just when I felt like my whole body was going to fall apart, a voice brought me back to clarity, bringing my consciousness back to reality and my body back to normal. Pathetic. Amidst all those unrecognizable sounds, a scream clearly resonated beside me, making me turn my head with difficulty, encountering something that paralyzed me again. "You're a fucking cunt." Sitting next to me was myself. Not my current self, but my former self, John Black. There was a deep disdain in his gaze, as he seemed to be talking to me. "Are you talking to me?" I asked, confused. "Yes and no, you're a cunt, but I'm telling that kid." Pointing to my side, John smiled, pointing to my other side. Hesitantly, I turned my head, reuniting with another me. Exactly me. Christian Grey was sitting next to me, pressing his knees together as he hunched over, leaving only my hair and ears visible, but his body was visibly trembling. "It's scary, Daddy. Terrifying. It's scary that you're such a coward." John rolled his eyes disdainfully as he sat down next to me, calmly staring at the floor. Chapter 34, Personalities. At this moment I was with my two selves, the only thing I could see were them, while my entire surroundings were still dark violet, making everything unrecognizable to me. "What the hell are you guys?" I asked hesitantly, while looking to both sides. "We are you," John replied. "And you are us," Christian whispered. With a frown, I looked down at the ground. "Sigh, what the hell is going on?" "Why are you asking?" John mocked. "You know perfectly what is going on," Christian whispered slowly. "We broke up," the three of them whispered at the same time. "Multiple personality disorder," Christian whispered. Yes, Brainiac, shut up for a while, my head hurts," John replied lazily. "It hurts," I corrected. "Why did this happen?" "Overload," John replied. I didn't even bother asking him how he knows what I'm thinking. After all, we're one. "A lot of stress, mentally and physically," Christian too murmured. "What was that?" I felt like I was going to explode, I murmured as I recalled what I had experienced a few seconds ago. "Why the hell are you asking us? We don't know anything you don't already know, you idiot," John replied venomously. "Asshole. You're a pair of annoying pieces of shit. It's you're an annoying piece of shit." "Annoying shit? I don't understand. We crack under stress. How did it happen and what purpose does it serve?" "We don't know how it happened," John replied, "but I'm handling the psychological burden right now, and let me tell you, we're pretty intense." "I roast our body," Christian whispered. "It's hard, a lot, for the process." "So what the hell do I do?" I whispered, but I knew the answer perfectly well. "He rebuilt us. I no longer have the mental, emotional confusion I felt since I reincarnated or recovered my memories. I no longer feel my intense feelings and confusion about my actions. I have two big problems. Mental confusion and that strange shit I felt in my body. Why are my thoughts so confused?" "You know," they both murmured at the same time. "I know. Right now, I only have my rational self. I feel nothing but rationality. No feelings, no need to breathe, no discomfort to hold me back." "Of course, I know." Christian longed to be able to communicate normally, longed to show affection, friendship, or anger. But the boy was so stupid that he thought learning other languages would make everything easier, John whispered. I wanted to family, to love, but he was so stupid. that he pushed everyone away because afraid of being hurt, Christian murmured. Christian has an intense fear of his father, John whispered. John just hates my father. Together we clashed emotionally, she whispered. But we fulfilled each other's desires, that's why when we felt happy with Mom, the desire was so intense. That's why when I wanted to hit Brian, I felt so much fear and anger at the same time. It's my two personalities and thoughts clashing with each other. Two distinct personalities clashed, causing a problem within my psyche. But now being separated and broken. We managed to understand why, the three of us whispered at the same time. Wait. If one is John and the other Christian. Who am I? Are you stupid? John asked. You know it perfectly well, Christian too whispered. I am our fusion of personalities. The last thing, we all three murmured at the same time. Together we mentally completed the thought. Christian couldn't communicate, John could. John was always cautious in his relationships, always preferring to walk away rather than get hurt, but Christian was the complete opposite. Being a child, his thoughts weren't so profound, he just wanted affection. We both want the same thing, and between the two of us, we make peace. But, although our personalities together can complement each other, our desires and feelings vary on many occasions. Practically the only thing we agree on is receiving affection and helping our family. Through my reincarnation I came to believe in the concept of the soul. I cannot have my memories of my other life if something similar to the soul did not exist, since my brain is not John's, but Christian's. Same body, same soul, two different personalities. An adult personality, a childlike one. Both personalities are looking for love. One personality is fearful and timid, the other aggressive and solitary. All united within me. Sigh. This didn't happen in the novels. But presumably, even if we are the same person, personalities are not something you can just adapt like that. But what the hell did I feel a few moments ago? We don't know. We all three answered at the same time. I'm feeling all sorts of mental things. Anger, fear, pain, tiredness, etc. I am feeling everything. The physical, blood, nerves, organs, muscles, etc. Do you feel the adrenaline? I asked after a few seconds of reflection. Yes, but I no control it. Can you turn off the pain? John asked. I think, but I don't know where is the system that those controls all. That is very confusing. Confused. Yes, a lot. Sounds. I can understand what I hear. Also, I see a lot. Things are view, enlarge, and contracts. I can paddle control that. Phew tilde, John hissed, raising his eyebrows. You got it, tough buddy. Sister, no. What's happening outside? We spoke quickly with John. Haley, coming closer. Daddy, Ashley, crying, a lot. We have to become one again, we're going to turn off this purple shit, I whispered, while calmly glancing sideways, unable to move from the floor. I managed to understand the reason for my mental confusion. By having an idea of the problem, I can try to adapt my behavior. Simply not having the confusion helps me enough. But my physical problem is something that, no matter how much I analyze it, I can't understand its origin or how to control it, and time is what I have the least of right now. We don't know how to do it, you're the best, we're just something created by your mind to endure everything. John shrugged, unbothered by the situation. You divided your consciousness for control everything, or we would die. All done by instinct, the three of us whispered at the same time. I don't know how I came to that conclusion, but somehow I'm 100% sure that my instinct was what broke me in the moment of stress. So my instinct saved me. But why the hell do you believe in these two? Peef tilde and who did you want? John smiled. Winnie the Pooh. Lana Rhodes. Damn, that kid was amazing, you certainly have good taste there. Ha ha ha. John burst out laughing. They are yours, pervert. Silence, I whisper, then I head towards Christian too. Although I'm not feeling my emotions right now, I fully understand that I need to fix myself quickly. I can't let my brothers suffer any more shit. What's happening outside? Ashley, pulling of the hand of Daddy. Frowning in fear, I exclaimed, show me. I don't know, I like it. Shit. Come on Cristiano, think. Instinctively we split up to avoid dying. It was all my choice. If I wished to observe. I finished speaking, my sight returned to me, All the dark violet began to clear, clearly showing me what was happening in the room, but still, the color violet dominated the entire environment. I finally regained my sight, but what I saw caused me problems. My vision expanded and contracted repeatedly, like a damn camera zooming in and out over and over. It got to the point where I could clearly see the swollen veins in Brian's eyes. Focus, focus, focus. Concentrate, damn it. This time it didn't work as I expected. When my vision stopped changing the zoom, my vision expanded so much that I could see to my sides without problems, which completely disoriented me. Come on Christian, you can't waste your damn time. Hurrying, I focused all my attention on Haley's gaze, finding results after a few seconds. No, I whispered, frowning as Brian seemed to yell at Haley, while she let a few tears fall. What the hell is he saying? I want to listen. Why the hell are you crying, you angry girl? Brian shouts, forcefully letting go of Haley's hand on his. Dad sniff please sniff stop. No. Don't tell me what to do. Brian shouted while watching in slow motion as he raised his hand. No. We all screamed at the same time, and the next second, John and Christian disappeared, while I quickly got up from the floor. An overwhelming amount of emotions flooded my brain, but the anger was so intense that it overwhelmed all rational thought. Instinctively, I tensed my muscles and ran towards the bed, jumping onto it, then leaned slightly and violently tensed my leg muscles, causing a quick jump with my fist extended towards Brian. Dad, asterisk. There was a loud bang in the room, as Brian's body collapsed with me on top of him, but without losing focus, I grabbed him by the neck and kept hitting him as he fell, again and again. Bye, 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 bye. Claw strike. His body fell heavily to the ground, but it didn't matter. I continued to repeatedly hit his face, while in my mind all my frustrations and anger repeated endlessly. Bye, 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 asterisk. Blow after blow rained down on Brian. Every time he raised his fist, the blood continued and splattered my clothes, mixing with my own blood that had leaked from my nose some time ago. Bye, 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 asterisk. Ch. Bye, 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 bye. Christ, stop. Bye, 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 asterisk. I don't know how much longer I've been hitting, but the pain and exhaustion began to torment me, as my vision slowly returned to normal, completely losing the violet tint. Little by little my vision returned to its natural focus, the violet disappeared and my rationality returned. I no longer felt everything in my body, I no longer felt the blood inside me. Finally, everything returned to normal. Dad. With one final blow, everything in me collapsed, agonizing pain assaulted my body, my arms fell heavily downwards, while my legs began to lose their grip and give way, but I didn't find myself falling to the ground. Instead, I found myself clinging to warm arms. Christian. A worried whisper sounded in my ear, making me instantly recognize the arms around me and pull me towards Brian. Mom. I whispered with difficulty, but unable to bear the pain any longer, I fainted. A few minutes ago. Why do I feel so bad? Eva whispered, placing her hand on her heart, as she walked quickly home. Today he had officially resigned from his job at KFC. After her fight with Christian, she realized she needed to spend more time with her children, so without thinking twice, she quit her afternoon job. But a few minutes ago, some incredible cravings started growing inside Eva, making her journey home even faster than usual. Ring ring ring. Taking her cell phone out of her pocket, Eva looked at the caller ID, finding an unknown number. Hello. Eva. A male voice reached her ear, confusing the enthusiasm in her voice. Who is this? Eva, it's David. What does that annoying piece of shit want? How the hell did you get my number? I received it from the receptionist, it's urgent. Frowning and with her anxieties growing even more, Eva spoke seriously, did something happen? It's Brian, he went to your room and now you hear a lot of shouting. I tried to get in, but it's locked. I don't know what to do. I tried to ask for the spare key, but the receptionist said she gave it to Brian. As if struck by lightning, Eva's body shook, while her body wobbled slightly, instantly losing all color in her face. Eva, shouted the voice on the phone. Yeah. You have to come now. With her eyes wide open at the scream, Eva put her cell phone in her pocket and quickly ran to the motel a few blocks ahead. Goddess, please don't let anything happen to them, Eva whispered worriedly, running as fast as she could toward the motel, her eyes slowly beginning to redden. Anything but my children, please. Chapter 35, Darkness. A few minutes later, with her brow covered in sweat, Eva arrived at the motel, heading quickly towards her room, where she found David standing outside the door with a worried look. Eva, David exclaimed with relief. Did something else happen? Eva asked quickly, while searching in her pocket for her keys. Biting his nails, David shook his head quickly. I don't know what's going on inside. Move aside, Eva whispered, bringing her trembling hand toward the door, as she tried to insert the key into the lock, failing several times in the process. Shit, Eva yelled in frustration, as she grabbed her right hand with her left and brought the key to the lock. Crick. Removing the lock, Eva quickly opens the door, as worry already filled her mind. Bye. But what awaited them inside was something they could never have imagined in their lives. There was Christian, sitting on Brian's chest, hitting the man over and over again. Blood covered his face, while his face split in a creepy and strange way. Half of her face seemed to be smiling at what she was doing, while the other half was crying with obvious sadness. As Ashley tried to pull him away from the man, she screamed desperately in the process, Christian, please stop. Claw strike. With a thud, David fell to the ground, apparently fainting from the shock, while Eva stared in a daze as if she couldn't process what she was seeing. Bye. But no matter how much force Ashley used, Christian held tightly with his legs around Brian's body, while the blows never stopped. Blood was splattered everywhere. Brian didn't move an inch, while Ashley desperately tried to pull her brother away from the man. Although her muscles tensed to the extreme, she couldn't move him. Turning her head upwards, Ashley's eyes lit up when she saw her mother. Mom, help. Startled by the scream, Eva quickly approached her son, gently taking him in her arms. Dad. Christian, calm down. Mommy is here, Eva whispered, hugging the boy tightly in her arms, as she tried to pull him away from Brian. As if listening to his words, Christian slowly stopped hitting, until he no longer moved and slowly let himself fall. Mom, Christian murmured, only to collapse into Eva's arms, causing the woman to despair. Turning her head in concern, Eva grabbed her cell phone and threw it to her eldest daughter, Ashley, call an ambulance, quick. Yes, Ashley responded quickly as she left the room. Christian, Eva murmured, dazed, gently laying the child down next to her, then gently wiping the blood from his face with her clothes. My boy. Where am I? The last thing I remember is hitting Brian, then I got tired of it and then I went to sleep. And a second later, I was in this strange place. Looking around curiously, I see nothing but what appears to be a dark cave with only one path in front of me. No matter how hard I try to look ahead, even though there are torches on either side, it seems like the whole path in front of me is an endless hole because of the amount of darkness in it. Am I dead? Again. I can't speak. Frowning at the unknown, I slowly take a step forward, fearful of the almost solid darkness in front of me. With one foot forward, I walk slowly while my right foot touches everything around me, preferring to be careful with the solid rock at my feet, fearing to find a trap like in games or movies. Wait. Looking down slowly, I find myself wearing something rather uncomfortable. Something resembling a white dress hung from my shoulders, perfectly concealing my entire body except for my feet and arms. It doesn't look bad. Touching the garment curiously, I notice that it has a rather nice and soft fabric. At least it doesn't look as strange as this place. Frowning, I turn my gaze to my forehead. I feel overwhelmed. The path ahead was so dark it seemed to solidify as if you were locked in a box, but when you reached out, the box seemed to get bigger and bigger little by little, causing the oppressive feeling and claustrophobia to overwhelm even the strongest. I continued walking slowly in place, constantly testing the ground in front of me, completely distrustful of the place I was in. I don't know how much time passed, I just walked and walked, but tiredness or boredom never came, as if the cycle were repeating itself, and my steps were just a repetition of what already was. Something very difficult to explain, but that's what I can understand. I walked and walked, but I never found anything different in the place, no angels, no demons, nothing, just a seemingly infinite cave. But when silence reigned, a shape resembling a silhouette appeared ahead, causing my entire body to tense up as I raised my fists in defense. That is to say, a woman. Although he could only see her as she lay on the ground, he could easily tell she was a woman because of her long hair and slender body. Cautiously, I slowly approach the apparent silhouette of the woman, easily reaching her side after a few seconds. I try to speak again, but the voice doesn't come out of my mouth, making my frown deepen even more. Stealthily circling the body, I came across something that made me tremble, as I quickly backed away. Resisting the overwhelming fear and the urge to vomit, I quickly process in my mind what I saw. The woman. She was dead, undoubtedly dead. His eyes were bleeding, while fragments of flesh that appeared to be his eyes were scattered across his face. Blood flowed and flowed down her face, leaving a small puddle in front of her, while her entire expression solidified into terror and fear. With astonishing strides, I moved faster along the dark path, doing my best to leave that corpse behind me, while my mind tortured me with the sight over and over again. But after a few steps, I no longer saw just one silhouette, but dozens of them in front of me. I'll bring it. What's going on? With panic and fear attacking my senses, I didn't think anymore and turned around, knowing that this path would lead me to nothing good. But when I took a step to go back, I bumped into something that froze my expression. Behind me, where the path I walked before should be, there was a wall. Not a wall of rocks, much less bricks, but a wall of darkness. Desperately, I moved quickly to the sides of the wall of darkness, trying to find some way through it, but no matter how much I push and inspect the wall, there was no change in it, leaving me only the path filled with silhouettes in front of me. With resignation, I slowly turned around, watching as the darkness on the road seemed to swallow me up at any moment, while the silhouettes still showed no movement or signs of life. What the hell is this? Fuck it, I'm not going that damn road. With a turbulent mind and overwhelming fear, I made the decision I considered the wisest at that moment. I didn't follow the damn dark path and sat on the cold ground, refusing to take a step towards what could be my death or my beginning in hell. With my limbs trembling with fear, I focus all my attention on the ground, doing my best not to get lost in the darkness. But not even a minute had passed when I felt something slide down my back, while a strong chill ran through my entire body. Turning my head robotically, I see something that completely horrifies me. A completely dark hand emerged from the wall I was leaning against, as it slowly slid towards my face. Unable to scream or speak, I quickly got up from the ground and ran forward, my expression transforming into pure horror. I ran as fast as my little legs would carry me, quickly reaching the silhouettes. With a quick glance at the 23 silhouettes, I confirmed something I already knew. All the bodies lay on the ground and leaned against the wall. Some were missing their eyes, others had cuts on their necks, and one figure even had a hole in its forehead, forming a large pool of blood along the path between all the bodies. But as if my feet were waterproof, no amount of blood touched my skin. All these bodies had one thing in common, their gender. All the bodies were female, causing a feeling of rage to grow inside me, but fear still overwhelmed any other feeling, so without stopping I kept running as fast as I could, afraid that the hand would reach me. The further I went along the path, the more and more bodies began to appear. Some were missing arms, others were headless, while a small number had holes in their bodies or faces. The blood flowed to such an extent that the entire road seemed to be made of blood. There came a point when I lost track of the time I ran. I even stopped counting the bodies, but I know there were hundreds of bodies I found along the way. Hundreds of women were brutally massacred. My stomach felt like it was twisting, but no matter how much anguish I felt, the vomiting never came. Tears began to run down my face at some point. The fear was so intense that I felt my entire mind go numb, leaving me with nothing but fear. But at some point in my run, my legs gave way and I fell to the ground, but unlike my feet, my face was covered in blood, while a metallic taste reached my mouth. Looking up, I watch as the dark hand rushes towards me, and unable to bear the mental burden any longer, I curl up in the fetal position and weep bitterly. Sniff. Mother. Help me. Please. Mother. I'm afraid. Sniff. Closing my eyes tightly, I whisper my pleas in my mind, knowing that those hands should already be on me. But when I expected them to drag me away and attack me, nothing happened. Opening one eye slightly to see what was happening, I could see that the hands were indeed on me, slowly moving closer to my body. Sniff. Mother. Seeing that the hands were only a few centimeters away from me, I closed my eyes tightly, knowing that this would not lead to anything good. But when I felt the hands touch my body, I was confused. I no longer felt the chill or the fear, but an incredible warmth flooded my body. Confused, I slowly opened my eyes, as hands gently lifted my body. What's going on? I was still in the same cave, still surrounded by corpses and blood, but the atmosphere no longer generated fear, only warmth and satisfaction. Multiple dark hands surrounded me, while two of them cradled and lifted me up. But for some reason, all of this generated neither terror nor horror in me, only happiness. Don't cry anymore, my daughter. But out of nowhere, an unfamiliar voice sounded in my ear, a beautiful, soft voice, Mommy is here Tilda. The voice was incredibly melodious and intoxicating, but I'm absolutely certain that the language she speaks is not mine, but for some reason, I managed to recognize what she was saying to me. Squinting contentedly at the warmth and melody of the voice, I snuggled into the dark hands, silently resting my body and mind. Mom will always be there for you, Tilda. The voice sounded in my ear again, a completely unfamiliar voice, but full of affection and love, to such an extent that for some reason I could feel it solidifying in my bones. You don't have to be afraid of the dark loves you, Tilda. His hands slowly began to envelop my body, as the relaxation and satisfaction became somewhat intoxicating within me. Darkness is good and beautiful, Tilda. His hands gently touched my face, while I felt him wiping the blood away with his thumbs. Darkness is Mom and Mom loves you, Tilda. His hands completely surrounded me, leaving only my head exposed. Darkness is you and Mom loves it, Tilda. The voice whispered, while I felt warm lips on my forehead, sweetening my entire being. My little one, it's time for you to be on your way, Tilda. The hands began to gently lower me, as I felt them slowly moving away from me. Chapter 36, Dream. Opening my eyes in a panic, I quickly turned my gaze back to my hands, and for the first time in this place, I cry out sadly, "No, Mom, don't leave me. Calm down, my son, Mom is always with you, no matter where you are." The voice whispered, as the hands slowly disappeared into the veil of darkness. "But Mom, I want you here, please, don't leave me," I whispered, as tears streamed down my face, watching the hands disappear before my eyes. "Don't cry, my son, if you feel alone. Just seek the darkness. Mommy will always be there for you, Tilda." With that last whisper in the air, the hands disappeared into the wall of darkness, while a feeling of loneliness flooded my body. Sniff. I don't know whose voice it was. I don't know why it gave me so much satisfaction. I don't even know why I was so quick to accept calling her Mom. But I feel immense loneliness at the thought that she's gone. Sniff. It's time for you to go your own way. Wiping the tears from my face, I take one last look at the darkness in front of me. Turning around, I resolutely continue on my way, passing countless bodies, finally arriving, after an untold amount of time, in front of the seemingly natural light. For some reason, the darkness or the corpses no longer generated fear in me, only anguish upon learning that all the bodies were women, while sadness shone on my face as I imagined that those women were mothers or sisters. Walking towards the light, I slowly realize that I am leaving the cave, finding myself in what appears to be a desert, while a beautiful starry sky might dazzle above me. The darkness in this desert was very dark, leaving only a little natural light generated by the moon. But for some unknown reason, I could see everything without problems, but the same violet tint seemed to illuminate everything. Looking around in confusion, I find a small pile of corpses a little further away. Feeling that this is my destiny, I walk quickly towards the place, arriving without problems after a few seconds, finding on the other side of the mountain a view that froze me again. At the foot of the mountain of corpses was me. Not the me of now, but a more mature me. I can't estimate my age. My face was covered in blood, my hair was shoulder length, but everything was stained crimson. I couldn't see my clothes, my skin, nothing, everything was crimson red, while the blood dripped onto the sand. But without a doubt it was me. Those eyes that were now looking towards the sky were mine. Although the color is a deep, dark violet, I have no doubt that those eyes are mine. Yo-yo. Did I do this? Looking at the pile of corpses in front of me, remembering the large number of corpses on my path, a feeling of disgust and remorse flooded my body. Why? Gathering all my thoughts and emotions, I managed to squeeze out a single word, looking at my older self with disgust. Why? Yes, I wonder why. Without even turning to me, my other self whispers in a daze, then turns his gaze back to the corpses. How did it get to this? Claw strike. Falling to his knees, the adult Christian looked up at the sky again. It's beautiful, isn't it? Frowning at his attitude, he looked up at the sky, finding nothing in particular. What is it? Darkness. Is so comforting, my dazed adult self whispered, gazing at the sky. Stars can be so annoying. You want to appreciate the darkness, but the stars are there, polluting everything. This idiot. Did I just dodge my question? You disgust me, I said with revulsion, pointing at the corpses. These women. Didn't you think that it could be Mom, Ashley, Haley? These women could be mothers, aunts, sisters. And you. Did you just kill them? There isn't a second that goes by that I don't think about it. My adult self murmured with melancholy and sadness. But I have to live with it. Upon hearing his words, a fury began to boil within me. Is that all? To do it and have to live with it? Is that your pathetic excuse? Is that single thought worth our mothers? Is that all it takes to care for our sisters? Mom, Ashley, Haley, my adult self whispered. I haven't seen them in a long time. I guess it won't be long before we meet again. Frowning at his words, I quickly ask, what are you talking about? Ignoring my question, my adult self turned her gaze back to me, a pained expression on her face. I'm so cold, I miss the warmth so much. Finishing his brief words, my adult self suddenly raised his trembling hand, holding what appeared to be a gun, and pointed it at me. Your time to grow up will come. Enjoy the warmth while you can. With those last words, my adult self let a small tear fall from his right eye, leaving a clean mark amidst the blood on his face, as he watched in slow motion while pulling the trigger towards me. But when he pulled the trigger, I could see that he was trying to tell me something with his lips, something I was able to understand thanks to my memory and the times I'd seen people talk. Don't trust anyone. Burst. Closing my eyes as the bullet approached, I quickly processed everything I saw myself. Enjoy the warmth while you can. Don't trust anyone. What is he talking about? What did he say? MN. And the impact. Touching my entire body in confusion, I realize that I have no wounds, at least not on my chest, nor do I feel the blood that should be coming out of the wound, much less the blood that remained in my body when I fell to the ground. With even more confusion, I opened my eyes, finding myself in a blinding gaze. As I adjusted to the light, I realized that I was no longer in the desert or the cave, that gloomy place was no longer in front of me, much less was I standing. I was lying on what appeared to be a stretcher, while the sound of the machines reached my senses. Beep 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 beep. Turning my gaze around, I quickly come to the conclusion of where I am. A hospital. Sigh. Collapsed on the stretcher, I stared dazedly at the ceiling, replaying what had happened over and over again. What was that? I muttered, frowning, as I tried to bring my hands to my face while remembering the dark hands. Ah. But a sharp pain assaulted my mind, making me look down at my body, finding something surprising. Both my arms were in casts, and even my right leg was in the same state. A small but long transparent tube was connected to my left arm, passing directly through a hole in that area of the cast. What the hell? Frowning, I did my best and tried to draw a logical conclusion from my condition. The last thing I did was hit that guy. Although I lost control, I remember everything perfectly. I felt incredibly strong, most likely due to the adrenaline rush, leaving me in a momentary frenzied state. But why are my limbs in casts? Perhaps I used more force than my muscles could handle, tearing some in the process, but I don't see why the cast is on. Could be. It would logically be impossible, but since when does this body act logically? Most likely, my body has denied the natural limit we have as human beings when we use our strength. A limit that helps keep the body healthy on a daily basis. Most likely, I've used up all my muscle capacity in this body, causing my bones to not hold up and collapse, fracture, or break in the process. I feel residual pain in my shoulders, and not seeing them with anything to support or immobilize them makes me think that I most likely dislocated them and then put them back in place, bringing more credibility to my previous theory. That's the only logical theory for my condition. Maybe that's why I end up fainting. My body can't take it anymore. This shit is going to cost a fortune, I whispered weakly, as I looked around in a daze. I was in a fairly ordinary room. I couldn't see if there were other people with me because of the curtains around me, but I could hear the beeping of other machines around me, letting me know that I wasn't alone in this room. Judging by the amount of light in the room, I can tell it's still daytime and apparently still quite early. In these moments of solitude, many old memories float in my mind, depressing memories, but they are memories that shaped my former character. At the same time, I remember the people who gave me a new life, people who transformed my old memories into nothing more than a bitter past. Mom, Haley, Alan, Ashley. I carefully remember my family's faces, their voices, their smells, their smiles, everything about them, making a small smile form on my lips. Knowing that someone is waiting for you at home is the most rewarding feeling there is. In my previous life, I ended up in the hospital twice, both times when I fainted from a fever. But being on this stretcher was quite an uncomfortable feeling. Knowing that no one will miss you, even if you disappear, isn't a good feeling, let alone knowing you'll arrive in a place where no one expects you or wants you. But now, if I got home, Mom would hug and comfort me, Ashley would pamper me and pay attention to me, and Haley and Alan would laugh and play with me. I am no longer alone. I no longer have to come to an orphanage where I would only feel cold, much less to a mansion where I would only have silence and loneliness. Now I am loved, I whispered softly, as my smile spread across my face. What does money matter? What does comfort matter? As long as I have this affection, everything is possible. Many people may not understand, many people prioritize money above all else, but what about me? I wouldn't think twice before making my decision. In my previous life I could bathe in money, but no matter how much I had, nothing would give me the warmth I was looking for, the warmth I enjoy today. The warmth we seek to give and receive. I murmured, recalling the strange moment I experienced within my mind with John and the Christian boy, while simultaneously remembering my adult self, the warmth my adult self said I missed. Juan and Christian. Two opposing personalities, but with a similar goal. Now that I have what we want. What I want. I will make sure to take care of him with all my strength. I don't know why my adult self lost this warmth, but I can't ignore his words, even if his existence is nothing more than an illusion of my agony or something similar. It doesn't matter if the one trying to take this happiness away from me is that bastard Brian or the damned president. I will do everything I can to not lose what I have achieved. Since I came into this world I have made many mistakes, most of them because I let myself be carried away by my feelings or emotions. I didn't understand why, much less how to deal with them. But now I understand where they come from. It's simply my two personalities that clash. The problem is that these fits of rage or lust can cost me dearly. But that's okay. You learn from your mistakes. Those errors can be fixed. I just have to acknowledge them and make an effort to fix them. If my current problems are overwhelming feelings, you should start by trying to solve that problem. But what should I do? Should I stop showing emotions? Should I act cautiously from now on? Should I be quieter to avoid putting my foot in it? All those solutions are very difficult to implement. It's not something I can do overnight. I would need very precise facial control and very deep control over my emotions. It would be much more complicated with my current feelings, which are like a tsunami, whereas the feelings in my other life were no different from a splash. Feelings are not something you can control, they simply manifest in unpredictable ways, no matter how intelligent you are. Unless. No, that would be a stupid idea. If I could control my entire body as I experienced at that moment, I could turn off my amygdala and hippocampus, eliminating almost all irrational feelings. Happiness, sadness, anger, etc. Everything would disappear. I would only have rational thought and no feelings at all. But is that really what I want? Just the thought of acting that way makes me nauseous. Do I really want to live with that level of caution for the rest of my life? To live being repressed by myself. What's the point? I wouldn't be able to enjoy what I want to protect. Chapter 37, The Awakening. Ha 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 tilde. What the hell am I thinking? I shouldn't just repress myself, in time it would be counterproductive, sooner or later I would end up exploding. Even if I only control my expression, I still feel that I would hold back a lot, that was never in my nature. If it had been, I would never have achieved fame so quickly in music. If he had acted humbly with the big names in the entertainment world, he would be no different from any other fan. I climbed to the top being myself, an expressive person. When Universal Music Group tried to sign me, they offered me a shitty contract. Earning a miserable amount of money, and practically chained up throughout my entire life. That's why I told them they could go to hell. I didn't care that at that moment I didn't even have a place to drop dead, much less did I care if they were offended, fuck it. My attitude caused them to change the contract for a completely new one after a while. My salary increased by almost 350%, and I had the right to choose who to work with and when to work. I was even given a small percentage of what I received per song worked on. Yes, my talent in music was an important factor, but my attitude was what made me successful. These feelings are me. Even if I only suppress my anger, it would be the same as chaining myself up. That thing about acting cautiously your whole life. It's not for me. I prefer to explode when I need to, and show what I have when I want to. I prefer to laugh in someone's face when I feel like it. I'd rather spit on someone I don't like. I prefer to show everyone when I'm happy and when I'm not. Why should I bother holding back? Only cowards and people with 8th grade syndrome would prefer to be in the shadows. These feelings are me, this way of thinking is mine. It doesn't matter if it bothers someone, screw them all. Well, I think I should suppress my lust a little, at least with my family. To do. Although I don't want to repress myself, I'm not so stupid as to think it won't cause me problems in life. What happens if I insult someone I shouldn't? What happens if I get lost in lust with the wrong person? With Mom, for example. In my old life, I didn't care about offending someone. I only had myself, and honestly, I was already tired of life. But in this life, I have so much to protect, so much that I don't want to lose. A single word can make me lose everything. Sigh. I can't find a solution, no matter how much I think about it. The only solution I can think of is experience. The longer I live, the more I will get used to these feelings, causing fewer things to make me angry or lustful. A few days ago, when I saw Mom naked, I almost made a mistake out of lust, but after a few hours I got used to it. At least that's what I think, since I didn't feel the same way at that moment. Well, I'm just a kid, I don't feel what I should feel yet. Sigh. I feel weird. Being alone for so long makes me think a lot. I want to see Mom. I want to see Ashley. I want to see my brothers. I feel cold. Cold. What was that dream? The more I think about my conjecture, the tighter my heart clenches, at the mere thought of what I believe to be real. Remembering the words my adult self said at that moment, my heart begins to ache even more. Remembering the sadness on my adult face as I say that I miss my family makes many memories float in my mind. Hard, sad, and happy memories. Beautiful memories. Just thinking about losing people in these memories. No, I have to stop thinking about stupid things. My family is doing well now that Brian is gone, we can live normally. But if the worst happens, I will not hesitate to do everything possible to protect them. Do everything you can. Is that what my adult self did? Is that why he got to that point? Did I judge too hastily? No. No matter what happens. Killing all those women is not something I can do. That bastard is simply a demon. Sigh. I don't know. It's all so complicated. I don't even think about the rationality of all these things anymore. Is it normal to have dreams that could be prophetic? Of course, it isn't. There's no debate, that shit is completely abnormal. But my existence in this world is already abnormal and not very logical, so I can't say that what I experienced was just shit. Sigh. I'll see it in the future, I just have to make sure I protect what I love and live happily. My arm is itchy. How am I supposed to scratch it? I've never been through anything like this before. Wait. Opening my eyes wide in uncertainty, I sighed, how am I going to go to the bathroom? Oh, by the goddess, you've awakened. Suddenly, a high-pitched but obviously male voice came to my side. Turning my head, I find a thin man in nurse's clothes, staring at me with wide eyes. I have to tell the doctor. Having finished speaking, the man turned and ran quickly towards the exit, leaving me stunned by his behavior. Why is he so surprised? So dramatic. I fainted for a moment. After about 2 minutes, an older woman in a white coat entered my area. Smiling kindly, the woman took out some papers that were hanging on the edge of the examination table and said, "Hello Christian, I'm Dr. Madison Smith, but you can call me Aunt Madison." "Hello, Mrs. Madison." How awkward. Smiling at my discomfort, the doctor approached after quickly skimming my papers. "How are you feeling, Christian? Are you in any pain?" Raising an eyebrow, I try to move my casted limbs, causing a grimace on my face from the pain that assaulted me with every small movement. Yes, my shoulders, arms, and legs hurt. Other than that, I don't feel any pain anywhere else. Is that all? Are you sure you don't feel anything else? Headache, dizziness, or anything like that? No, apart from my limbs, I feel fine. Frowning, the doctor looked at my paperwork again, then picked up his stethoscope and brought it closer to me. "Take a deep breath and then exhale slowly, please." "Okay, please repeat that." After approximately 3 repetitions, the doctor walked away, frowning at the papers in her hand. "Where's Mom?" I asked after a few awkward seconds. Turning to me with a reassuring smile, the doctor replied, "Visiting hours are from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Your mother was always here half an hour early, waiting. She should be here in a few minutes." "Well. Always. Doctor, can I know how I am and when I will be able to go home?" With the same smile, she stroked my hair and spoke softly, "You're completely fine, you just have a few small fractures in your arms. We'll give you a routine checkup and you can go home. Just make sure you drink plenty of milk so your bones grow healthy and strong." "Alright. Okay, I'll let you rest for now. Your lunch should arrive in a moment. Make sure you eat all your vegetables, okay?" MN. Nodding my head, I lay back on the bed, staring boredly at the ceiling, as the doctor was already leaving the room. In the office of Dr. Madison. "Were you looking for me, doctor?" The same nurse who had screamed earlier was standing in front of the desk, looking worriedly at the woman sitting on it, who was frantically reading the documents in her hand. "Yes, bring me all of Christian's medical records," the doctor replied, without taking his eyes off the documents in his hands, as seriousness was evident on his face. Right away. Nodding quickly, the nurse rushed out of the office. Both of his arms were completely fractured, from his wrists to his elbows. His leg wasn't in any better shape. Both shoulders were dislocated, with ligament damage in the process. At least 7 torn muscles. His veins were on the verge of collapse when we injected the serum. Blood spurted out violently because the injection ended up bursting a vein in his arm. In addition to the blood he lost when his nasal veins burst, the child had a considerable lack of blood in his body. He was even close to having his organs collapse. The most complicated thing is that his mother's blood does not match the child's blood. There are not even records of his blood type. We could not find a donor who had the same blood type for him, which meant his life was left to chance. He was even diagnosed with brain death. No matter how he was stimulated, all tests showed no brain activity. Everything indicated that this poor child would never wake up again. However, there was an anomaly. The child didn't need a ventilator. Even though his brain showed no activity, his lungs never stopped functioning. I had to make the decision not to use a ventilator, even though it's dangerous, because in the long run, it would be worse for the child's lungs. I had dedicated myself to investigating the reason for this anomaly, but for this child to wake up after brain death is impossible. Without pain, without discomfort. What on earth is going on? How did he manage to wake up without symptoms after being in a coma for 2 months? No, the real question is, how did he wake up from brain death? As far as I know, there are only a handful of miracles in the whole world. I never thought I'd come across one. Time passed and Christian looked bored at the food the nurse was cutting for him. They brought him what appeared to be mashed potatoes with chicken, while a small plate of broccoli and a bowl of jelly were beside him. How the hell am I supposed to eat? Christian thought, puzzled, staring at the fork in front of him. See Cristiano. But just as Christian was thinking about simply not eating and starving to death, an incredulous but excited voice sounded beside him. Quickly turning his head, Christian saw his emaciated mother. Her hair looked disheveled and dirty, she had large dark circles under her eyes, her clothes were obviously dirty and disheveled, and it was even clear that she had lost a lot of weight from her thin cheeks. Needless to say, this sight squeezed Christian's heart hard, but understanding that this wasn't the time to add more worry to his mother, Christian smiled cheerfully. Hi Mom Tilda. My boy, am I dreaming? Mom spoke weakly, as tears began to drip from her eyes. Doing his best to keep smiling, Christian stretched his casted arms, causing him great pain, but still with the same smile, Christian said, hug Tilda. Sniff. With trembling, uncertain steps, Eva carefully approached Christian, without blinking for a second, fearing that her precious son would fall asleep again at any moment and that this whole moment was just a hallucination due to her tiredness. Extending her trembling hands, Eva gently touched Christian's face. If it's really you. With her chest swelling with happiness, Eva couldn't hold back any longer and hugged Christian tightly, while tears were already running down her face. Bearing the pain in his arms and shoulders, Christian rested his head on his mother's breasts, biting his lips hard to keep from shedding his own tears. Chapter 38, Madness. After a few minutes that seemed endless to Christian, but very short to Eva, the mother slowly moved away from Christian, gently touching his face, still unable to believe what she was seeing. I'm not dreaming, all right. Smiling slightly, Christian rubs his face against Eva's, wiping away his mother's tears with his own face. You're not dreaming, Mom, I'm fine now. Feeling the warmth and softness on her face, Eva confirmed that everything that was happening was not just another dream she had in these months, causing more tears to fall from her eyes, while relief and happiness flooded her heart. Taking Christian's face in her hands, Eva looked deeply into his eyes, finding the gems she had been longing to see during these hellish months, instantly noticing that the color of his eyes changed slightly again, darkening the light violet of his eyes a little more. But disregarding these minor details, Eva smiled warmly. I missed you so much, my prince. Welcome back. Welcome back. Why are you talking like I've been gone a long time ago? I just slept for a day, that's all. So dramatic. Although Eva's words confused Christian, he didn't think twice and just smiled and said, Mom, I'm hungry, give me some food. Looking at the plate of food beside him, Christian opened his mouth, looking expectantly at Eva, causing a soft smile to spread across the woman's face. Taking the tray of food, Eva slowly brings a forkful of broccoli to Christian's mouth, which the boy happily accepts. Making a small face, Christian looks at the rest of the salad with disgust. These shitty hospitals charge a fortune, but they can't even give me a decent salad. The broccoli looks like it's made of plastic. Mom, get me out of this place. Finishing his meal, Christian turned his gaze to the smiling Eva and pleaded aggrievedly, I'll die if I keep eating this garbage. The mashed potatoes tasted awful, they had no salt and were very watery. The meat was similar, overcooked, and apparently, this hospital hates salt. Relax, I'm not leaving this hospital today without my son, Eva smiled, putting the plate aside. Moving to the edge of the cot, Christian looked at Eva and smiled, Mom, lie down with me. With warm eyes and a gentle smile, Eva stood up and settled next to her son, filling her lungs with the child's pleasant scent. Although they were somewhat cramped due to the small size of the bed, Eva sat sideways, while doing her best not to touch Christian's arms. No, not like that. Shaking his head quickly, Christian sat up in bed and awkwardly crawled onto his mother's chest, managing to climb onto her stomach. Looking affectionately at the woman, Christian slowly nestled his head between her breasts, his gaze fixed on Eva's face. This is prettier. Wrapping her arms around his back, Eva whispered, yes. This is better. And so the minutes passed, mutually sharing each other's warmth, until little by little mother and son closed their eyes, leaving only their soft and relaxed breathing. Mrs. Eva, please understand, it's not safe for you to take Christian today. In the doctor's office, Eva sat with her arms crossed, while annoyance was reflected on her face. I don't care, my son wants to leave, period. I won't leave him in this place for one more day. Mrs. Eva, that's not safe for the child. Although he woke up from his coma, we don't know if he'll relapse or if he has any difficulties. We need to study his case and find out if he's okay. Frowning, Eva leaned slightly toward the desk and spoke seriously, how can he relapse again? My son woke up, he's healthy, I can easily see that. You have to understand that even though Christian woke up, we don't know if he will fall back into a coma at some point. Medicine has almost no records of people waking up from brain death. We don't know if he has any adverse effects or any ailments that could hinder his life. The doctor quickly explained, showing signs of despair. Frowning even more, Eva gently tapped his arm with her fingertips, but then shook her head and said, it doesn't matter. If my son falls into a coma again, I'd rather it be while he's with his family. I'll follow his wish and take him today. But your son could be in danger, shouted the doctor, as she stood up from her chair. Looking narrowly at the doctor, Eva spoke, and that's a risk I'll take. Now do the paperwork and that's it. I won't argue about it anymore. But. No buts, doctor. He's my son, and I decide what to do with him, not you. Without bothering to say more, Eva got up from her seat and turned toward the door. Get the paperwork done to discharge him quickly. In the meantime, I'll take Christian out for some fresh air. After she finished speaking, Eva no longer bothered to listen to the woman's words and left, leaving the doctor reaffirming his hair in frustration. Where are we going, Mom? Sitting in a wheelchair, Christian turned his gaze towards Eva, who was slowly guiding him towards the hospital exit. This hospital has a small park in the back, let's get some fresh air. Nodding his head, Christian settled into the chair and let his mother carry him, curiously looking at everything around him. They quickly passed through the hospital corridors, arriving after a few minutes at what appeared to be a small park with trees and vegetation. Patients and people who might be family members could be seen passing through the area. There were seats on different sides, but apparently, the patients chose to lie down on the grass, as almost everyone was resting there. Isn't this a good day? Eva asked, as she looked at Christian's curious expression. Yes, it's not hot, but it's not cold either, it's pleasant. Walking peacefully through the park, Christian stares in a daze at all the people around him. Their smiles, their empty expressions, their gloomy expressions, Christian had never seen so many emotions in the same place. But while observing people, his mother passed by a particular woman who, to his astonishment, was looking at him with open lust. The most curious thing was that the woman was a nun. She was about 45 years old, and several gray hairs could be seen in her dark hair. But when their eyes met, the woman's eyes widened as horror began to show on her face. Did you miss something? Eva exclaimed, annoyed, instantly noticing the woman's stare. Lucifer! The woman screamed, her face contorted with terror, as she quickly pulled away from his chest, pointing menacingly at Christian. In the name of the goddess, leave this earthly world and return to your place in darkness. Tilting his head in bewilderment, Christian turned his gaze to his side, searching for where this, Lucifer, was. Lord of evil, in the name of the goddess and her holy daughter, I order you to return to hell. Shouting loudly, the woman pulled a small bottle from her pocket, quickly opened it, and then threw water in Christian's face, making his eyes widen. She was talking to me. Opening his mouth wide, Christian stared at the woman in shock. Bitch, what do you think you're doing? With a loud scream of fury, Eve ran towards the woman, holding her tightly by the neck. I expel you by the living and almighty goddess, by the true and holiest goddess. Go away from this world, enemy of faith, adversary of the human race, you bring death, father of lies, root of evil, seducer of women, cause of pain, go away from this world. But the woman paid no attention to Eve, she simply screamed in fear and madness towards Christian. Fucking bitch. Not taking any more of her nonsense, Eva grabbed her by the arm and knocked her to the ground, while people from the surrounding area began to approach because of the screams. I casted you out, cursed serpent, in the name of the holy daughter Jesus Christ, leave this place and leave the creatures of the goddess in peace. Dad, asterisk. Shut the fuck up, Eve yelled, hitting the woman's cheek hard. You are commanded by the goddess herself from the highest heavens, return to the depths of the earth. Dad, asterisk. Grabbing the nun's face, Eva threw her to the ground, while with her other hand she quickly pulled out her cell phone. What's going on? Asked the curious woman, looking bewildered at the scene in front of her. I don't know, I just came because of the shouting. Shrugging, another woman beside her watched all this with raised eyebrows. I saw everything. A man spoke quickly, surveying the scene with a frown. That woman was walking with the child. I kept looking at the child because I thought he was very cute, but that crazy woman started yelling at him and throwing water at him. She was talking about Lucifer or something like that. Sighed poor kid. A woman sighed dramatically, then turned to the man and smiled. Hey handsome, would you like to go for a beer and talk about what you saw? No, thank you, I don't like beer. With a look of disgust on his face, the man walked away from the woman. I don't like it either. If you want, we can go for a coffee. The woman replied quickly, as she walked towards the other woman. Leaving the desperate woman aside, Eva had already called the police, as the guards on site arrived by her side. Are you saying he attacked the child? Frowning, the guard pointed to the nun on the floor, who was still babbling with a sock in her mouth. Holding the woman to the ground, Eve asked, do you know her? Yes, she comes to bless the sick. She should bless herself, to see if her mental illness is cured. Huffing in annoyance, Eva turned her gaze to Christian with concern. My boy, are you alright? Did this woman scare you? Shaking his head, Christian replied, no, I'm fine, Mom. You're sure? With a reassuring smile, Christian said, relax, Mom, I'm a big boy now. Sigh fine. Looking down, Eva frowned again, then glanced at the guards and spoke, what are you waiting for? Hug her, the police are on their way, I'm going to file a complaint against this crazy woman. But ma'am, she's a nun, the guard replied uncertainly. So what? This damn crazy woman attacked my son, what would have happened if I hadn't been there? Sigh okay. Nodding, the guard comforted the woman, while the other guards helped her, but in the process, the sock came out of her mouth, causing the woman's screams to continue. Lucifer, leave this pure world, keep your dark hands off this rear guard of faith. Frowning, the female guard gripped her hands tightly, turning her head towards her coworkers. Let's take her inside, away from the child. Lifting the nun up, the guards dragged her towards the hospital, while the nun writhed violently, let me go, I have to expel evil, that child is the devil, he is the devil. Shut up, lady, shouted the annoyed guard, as they arrested her even faster. The hands, the darkness, Lucifer will torment all the faith of the pure. Their unclean hands will cover everything, everything. The woman's screams could be heard throughout the place as she slowly disappeared. But those last words left Christian frowning. Hands, Christian whispered, squinting at the woman being dragged away. Chapter 39, Agonizing Pain. Under Eva's insistence, the doctor could do nothing but let Christian go. At this moment, the mother and son duo were leaving the hospital, but they both had different expressions. While Christian smiled in his new wheelchair, Eva had a rather rigid smile, while sadness was reflected in her eyes. By the way, where are my brothers, Mom? Christian asked, noticing that the little rebels weren't with her. Are they with their older sister? No, Eva whispered with some difficulty. I left them with Sarah and Jaden, they were making cookies when I came. Oh, so the older sister is working? No, she's resting. That's good, she can't work so hard or it will harm her body, Christian replied, looking curiously in the direction they were heading. Why are we going to the parking lot? I have a surprise. Oh, confused, Christian nodded. After walking for a few minutes, Eva stops in front of a vehicle. This is our new car, Eva smiled proudly, as she looked expectantly at Christian. 2005 Dodge Grand Caravan SXT, Christian instantly recognized the vehicle. In his past life he was a big fan of all kinds of vehicles, not this specific type, but he did know it. This beautiful mom, Christian smiled, knowing that, with his financial situation, having a vehicle is something to celebrate. The vehicle looked a little worn. The top was slightly faded from the sun's rays, while the sides had small scratches in their gray paint, but aside from that, the car looked pretty good. As she approached the car, Eva proudly tapped the hood. I called it, Gray Mobile. That name is perfect. Christian smiled stiffly, while trying not to laugh at the strange meaning of his mother's name. Isn't it great? That bitch Sarah wouldn't stop laughing when I told her, Eva replied, annoyed. Yes, it's great. Well, let me take you, I have to take you to see something. Eva said with a conflicted expression, then approached Christian and lifted him into the passenger seat, while placing the wheelchair in the back seats. Where are we going, Mom? Mom. Uncomfortable with the silence, Christian looked towards the road, remembering with bright eyes the sign they passed on the road, a sign that said, mile 8 feet. Wait a bit, let's go. With a serious look on her face, Eva drove a little faster towards her unknown destination. A few minutes later, they were in a place that baffled Christian. Woodlawn Cemetery. What are we doing in a cemetery? With an awkward silence hanging in the air, Eva stopped the car, then got out and took out the wheelchair. Leaving Christian in the chair, Eva quietly wheeled him toward the cemetery. Mom, what are we doing in this place? Christian asked, frowning, feeling his chest tighten for some reason. A lot of things happened when you fell asleep, Eva whispered as she walked calmly through the cemetery. I was planning to hide everything from you, but Sarah and Jaden made me realize that sooner or later you'd find out. After all, you're a genius. Your father, no, Brian. Brian had been hospitalized, his nose was broken and he had lost a tooth, but other than that, he was fine. A month later he tried to take your custody from me while asking for child support in the process, but they recorded your injuries as assault by him, even your little siblings had to testify. After that, the lawsuit didn't go very far, I ended up winning custody without any problems. The last thing I heard about Brian is that he went to live with his grandfather. The old man is a good man, he'll be fine. The important thing is that he won't be in our lives anymore. Upon hearing Brian's fate, Christian somehow felt unwell, as if a knot formed in his heart, but not wanting to think about the matter further, he continued listening to Eva. You didn't just sleep one day, Christian. You were in a coma for 3 months. Opening his eyes wide, Christian turns to his mother, with bewilderment in his gaze. Don't look at me like that. You were seriously injured, Christian. I thought I'd lost you forever, Eva murmured, her eyes red. The doctors told me you'd never wake up again. They recommended taking you off life support, to prevent you from suffering confinement in your own body. To let you go, so you can continue your journey to heaven. But I didn't want to sniff, I didn't want to let go of my little boy. With a broken voice, Eva continued speaking, I couldn't accept that my son would never wake up again, sniff. But here you are, smiling at me again, sniff, Eva whispered, a smile forming on her face. The very thought of what would happen if I accepted the doctor's opinion. Taking a deep breath to calm his turbulent emotions, Christian turns to his mother and smiles gently. Calm down, Mom. I'll never leave you, I promise. And even if you want me to, I won't let you. Eva smiled slightly, quickly wiping away the tears that had escaped her eyes. But that wasn't all, Eva whispered, looking up in pain, then turning her chair and stopping in front of a particular grave. We arrived. The grave was simple, it had a cross about 30 centimeters on a headstone, where a name quite familiar to Christian was written. No. His eyes quickly reddened, Christian shook his head and turned to his mother in disgust. What kind of joke is this? Cristiano. I don't want to hear you, let's get out of here. My boy. Her face contorted with pain, Eva bent down to Christian's eye level, gently touching his cheeks. Stop acting, let your emotions out. It's impossible. Closing his eyes tightly, Christian shouted, I don't want to be here, let's go. Christian. It's the reality. Your father is gone. Ashley died. And no. Ashley is fine. I know she's fine. She wasn't sick, Christian whispered, stunned, as he slowly shook his head. Christian, look me in the eyes. Eva whispered, cupping Christian's face in her hands, looking into his eyes. Your sister, my daughter, is dead. With those words hitting him hard, Christian trembled, as his eyes quickly became blurred with falling tears. How? Christian whispered hesitantly, as his mind rapidly crumbled and all the emotional stability he had achieved in the last few hours instantly vanished. She was sick, Eva replied with difficulty after a few seconds. Don't lie to me, Christian shouted, knowing instantly that his mother was lying, as tears streamed uncontrollably from his eyes. Opening her eyes wide, Eva looked painfully and conflicted at Christian, then sighed and spoke, She committed suicide. Trembling at her words, Christian's eyes widened in disbelief. He had expected different reasons, an accident, murder, he even wanted to believe it was all natural, but suicide. It was something that had never crossed his mind. Unable to form a rational thought, Christian stammered, how? No, why? She was going through a lot of Christian stuff. After you were left in the hospital and she found out about your coma, she was very depressed. I think she was blaming herself for everything. I didn't have time to comfort her or ask her what was wrong. I was too busy with all the medical stuff and adding Brian's lawsuit, I just neglected her. It was all my fault. If I had made time for her, she wouldn't have done that sniff. Cough cough cough. No longer able to bear the pain that assaulted his heart, Christian coughed violently, as blood splattered his clothes and, at the same time, Eva's face. Opening her eyes wide in horror and concern, Eva exclaimed, "Christian, what's wrong with you?" Cough 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 cough. But unable to respond, Christian continued coughing more and more. As his vision quickly blurred, memories and recollections began to surface, and a feeling of helplessness and guilt tormented his conscious being. Let's cough go cough home cough." With those last words created by his instinctive intelligence, Christian fainted, leaving his mother in a mess of blood and tears of worry. "Christian." Shaking her son's shoulders roughly, Eve exclaimed in concern, "Christian. Oh my God, not again, please, I can't bear it again, not without my son." "Why?" Staring blankly up at the unfamiliar ceiling, Christian muttered in a daze. A few minutes ago he woke up with terrible pain all over his body, but his mind is so numb that the pain is already something ridiculous. Why did I have to act so stupidly? If I hadn't attacked Brian, he wouldn't have been in a coma or hospitalized, Mom would have fixed everything and I could have spent time with Ashley. So she wouldn't have committed suicide. It's all my fault. If only I had thought a little more. If only I hadn't let my emotions get the better of me. If only I had told Brian to shut up before he said that shit to Ashley. If only I had been a little more helpful. Sniff. With tears sliding down his eyes, Christian groaned, as memories of Ashley constantly floated through his mind. Why does loving people have to be so painful? If I hadn't been born into a family, I wouldn't have to endure this pain. Olive. Closing his eyes tightly, Christian stares up at the ceiling and sighs with a smile. What was that dream about? Ha 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 tilde. Laughing at the strange and stupid dream he had, Christian rests his head on the bed, remembering exactly everything that happened in his dream. How stupid, Ashley would never leave us. She loves us so much. She wouldn't do that, would she? No, it can't be, Ashley is alive, it's impossible that she's left us. Shaking his head violently, Christian slowly got out of bed, pain assailing his entire body, but he stood up with his last good leg, undeterred. I have to go find her. I'm sure she's waiting for me somewhere. She must be so sad. Yes, I'm going to find her. Claw strike. With difficulty, Christian moved forward with his good leg, but when he stepped, the lack of strength in it unbalanced him, causing him to fall heavily to the ground on his arm, while a sharp pain assaulted his left arm. But despite the pain, Christian crawled to the wall, struggling to his feet, then walked to the bedroom door and opened it with his foot, taking advantage of the fact that the door was not completely closed. Slowly leaving the room, Christian moves forward with the wall as his support, while his misty eyes blend with his gentle smile, looking towards the hallway to his left. Continuing down the corridor, Christian speaks softly, "Sister. Where are you? I had a very sad dream." Walking slowly down the corridor, Christian reaches its end, where he can see a staircase leading down. "Are you downstairs, sister? I'll come get you, don't worry, I won't let you be sad and alone. I'll be with you, we'll play, we'll laugh. Everything will be alright." Chapter 40, Denial. Looking at the staircase with a smile, Christian stepped down the first step with his good foot, then moved his casted foot. After a few minutes of practice, Christian was able to descend the stairs, reaching the second floor of the house. It's quite small. Going down the stairs, on the left you'll find a kitchen with a circular table in the center, while on the right there's a living room with a small television in front of it. The walls looked a bit old, although half of the house seemed painted and in good condition, the other half still had mold and signs of leaks. "Ashley, are you here? Stop hiding, I don't want to play hide and seek." Annoyed, Christian turned towards the stairs, finding something that lit up his eyes. "Ashley, you were upstairs, now I'm going to get you, wait for me." At the top of the stairs, Christian saw the woman he was looking for, looking at him with a smile. Claw strike. Going up the stairs, halfway up, Christian tripped, falling heavily, but without losing his smile, he got up again and went up, arriving after about 2 minutes on the second floor. "Ashley, where did you go?" Confused, Christian noticed that his sister was no longer in sight. Turning his gaze back down the hallway, Christian saw her again, looking at him from outside the same room he had come out of. "Why didn't you tell me you were there? I went to the trouble of coming downstairs." Shaking his head, Christian moved forward towards Ashley, noticing for the first time that the second floor had 2 more doors besides the one he came from. As he was about to reach the room, Christian saw Ashley enter, causing a sigh to escape his lips. "Sister, I don't want to play anymore." Upon entering the room, Christian took his first look at the entire room. The room had a full-size bed at one end, while at the other end, a white wardrobe could be seen, next to which was a small desk. The room wasn't very big, at least half the size of the kitchen, no more than 6 meters, but it was painted a beautiful dark violet color, which gave it an extra beauty. But without giving it another look, Christian walked towards the closed wardrobe, frowning at its closed doors. "Sister, are you here? I can't open the door. I don't want to play hide and seek anymore, please come out." Receiving no response, Christian sighed, "Sigh, you're so spoiled." Leaning forward slightly, Christian placed his neck between the handle and gently turned his head, opening it after a few seconds. "Aren't you here either?" Frowning at not finding Ashley, Christian turned toward the bed. "Are you under the bed, sister?" Claw strike. Reaching one side, Christian tried to lower him to ground level, but unable to support his weight any longer with one leg, he fell heavily again. Crawling a little closer to the bed, Christian lifted the blanket that covered his view, allowing him to look underneath it, finding nothing but a dark and empty space. "Ashley, stop it, I don't want to play your game anymore," Christian shouted angrily, looking up at the ceiling with a pout. "Come out wherever you are." Receiving no response, Christian turned his gaze back to the door, this time finding Ashley standing in front of him. "You finally came out of hiding, I was getting bored." Smiling with delight, Christian crawled towards Ashley, so that in the blink of an eye, she disappeared and reappeared a little further away. "Sis, why are you walking away?" Reluctantly, Christian looked at Ashley sadly. "Are you mad at me? Is it because I hit Brian? If so, I'm sorry, but I didn't know what else to do. I wanted to hit Haley. I'm sorry." Looking sadly at Ashley, Christian waited for a response, receiving nothing but silence, while Ashley maintained the same smile. "Sister, isn't that why you're angry? Is it because I hit those kids? If so, I'm sorry, they were really bothering me and I just lost it. But I promise I'll be a good boy, I won't fight anymore. I'll listen to everything you say. I'll eat all my food, even the vegetables. Please don't ignore me anymore." With tears in his eyes, Christian pleaded, as he slowly crawled towards Ashley. "I had a really stupid dream, Ashley. In that dream, Mom told me you killed yourself, ha 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 tilde." Laughing mockingly, Christian crawled with a desperate smile toward Ashley. "You believe that nonsense. I know you'd never leave me, you're my older sister after all. You're so young, you have so much to live for, right? Ashley." But as if his pleas hadn't reached her ears, Ashley smiled one last time and disappeared, leaving Christian wide-eyed. "No, Ashley, no." Shaking his head sharply, and with the apparent reality hitting him, Christian looked up and shouted, "Ashley, don't leave me." Christian. Running into the room, Eva glanced quickly towards the room, then rushed towards Christian and grabbed him with concern. "My boy, everything will be all right." Finding some warmth, Christian collapsed, weeping bitterly in his mother's arms, still unable to believe that someone he loved so much was gone forever. "Why?" Christian screamed aloud, the anguish of losing a loved one tormenting him for the first time in his life, while self-loathing and regret viciously assaulted him. "Why did you have to leave me? Why did you have to be so selfish and leave us alone? Why am I so stupid? Why? Sniffs why? Why did you have to leave me? Mom sniff I feel so bad sniff." Softly sobbing, Christian whispered painfully, "It's all my fault, Mom sniff if I hadn't done." "Christian, look at me." Grabbing his face with both hands, Eva lifts Christian's gaze to hers, looking at him with absolute seriousness. "It's not your fault. Your sister Ashley just went through some problems she didn't know how to deal with, and I'm the only one to blame. I failed her as a mother and wasn't there for her when she needed me most." "No," Christian spoke quickly through tears. "I was the one who wasn't with her, I was the one who aggravated all her sadness if I had thought more before acting." "Christian, if you say that nonsense again, I'll be angry," Eve exclaimed, frowning. But Mom." "Christian, listen to me," forcing him to look up, Eva gazed gently at her boy. "You're not the reason your sister left. She's just been through so much. Having to leave school puts a lot of pressure on you, and the problems with your father overwhelmed her. Your sister simply couldn't take it anymore. I'm the one to blame, not you. I'm the one who should have stopped your father a long time ago, not you. I'm the one who let it all continue. You know your sister loved you very much and wouldn't want to see you sad because of her. You have to smile so your sister can rest in peace." With red eyes, Eva brought her face close to Christian's, their noses touching. "Besides, now you're the big brother, you have a big responsibility to your little brother and sister, you have to take care of them for Ashley's sake." Looking sadly into Eva's eyes, Christian bit his lip, accepting that not everything is a dream, while reality is bitter and painful. It's not fair, Mom. Why did Ashley have to leave? Sniffs she was a good woman. She had so much to live for. Because. Sniffs. Why did Ashley have to leave? I don't know, my son. Only the goddess knows. Perhaps she needed another little angel and sent for her. Everything is in the goddess's plans. But your sister is in a better place now. She is resting. Frowning, Christian averted his gaze from his mother, as mockery grew in his heart. The goddess's plans. What kind of plans does she have that require a child to die? As she watched the sad look on her son's face, Eva's heart tightened. She had had her moment of sadness, she had cried, she had screamed, she had cried. As the months passed, she thought she was getting a little better, but having to relive all the pain with her son made her realize that no matter how much time passed, the loss of Ashley still hurt as much as the first day. Furthermore, just thinking that she was about to lose her son too, left her nerves extremely tense, even more so after seeing her son coughing up blood. The worry grew by the second, but seeing him now awake and relatively healthy relieved her worries a little. Mom, Christian whispered, his eyes red, looking directly at his mother with fear and sadness. Please, never leave me. That's what I ask most. Don't leave me. I don't want to be alone anymore. Please. Hugging Christian tightly, Eva looked at him affectionately and smiled, my baby. Mommy will never leave you, I promise. Sniff. Saturday, November 7, 2009. It has been 6 months since I came into this world and 3 months since I woke up from the coma. I managed to live many good experiences, and at the same time, many desolate experiences. I also had many new experiences that I truly appreciate. Like when they celebrated my 9th birthday. Thanks to the fact that I was in a coma when my birthday came around, it couldn't be celebrated, but my mother celebrated with me the day after I woke up. There weren't many people there, just my family and my mother's friend and her husband, Sarah and Jaden. The moment Mom handed me my gift, I felt my heart stop for a few seconds. Although Christian had received a gift before, his duck, Juan, was the complete opposite. He had never received anything in his life. So when she opened her present and saw a pair of dinosaur pajamas, I couldn't hold back my tears and cried. I think it goes without saying that I cried quite a bit that day, which made Mom nervous because she didn't understand what was happening, but well, it all ended with smiles. I also went trick-or-treating for Halloween, and it turns out that the place where I woke up that fateful day was my new home, the house that Mom bought with her loan. The house has 4 bedrooms, 3 small ones on the 2nd floor, where my siblings and I sleep, and the bedroom on the 1st floor, where Mom sleeps. Although most of the time the bedrooms aren't used since almost all of us sleep with Mom. The purple room is my new room, and Mom painted it for me while I was in the hospital. My point is that our house is not in a good area, even my old orphanage was in a better location. I live on the west side of Mile 7. Pilgrim Street and Patton Street, Detroit, Michigan, 48223, to be exact. It's not a bad location, but at night you can hear a lot of gunfire from different directions, although luckily it never happens near our house. For that reason, Mom only let us go trick-or-treating during the day, since we were back home by 8 p.m. However, I'm not complaining, I got a lot of candy thanks to my dinosaur pajamas. Honestly, I think Halloween should be celebrated about 3 times a year, since my candy doesn't last long enough for me to wait every year. 2 months ago, a few weeks after waking up from my coma, I returned to the same school. Mom said there's no need to switch to a new one, since it takes us to school every day, taking advantage of the fact that it's on its way to work. Needless to say, Emily was angry with me for leaving her, but she got over it quickly. I was quite surprised when she showed me she could count to 1,000, and she even learned to add and subtract while I was gone. Undoubtedly, the girl has a talent for mathematics, since she learned everything on her own from library books, and only needed a little push to handle it independently. Reversion, Novel R18.